We're on.
Are we? I don't see. Oh yeah, it's there. Okay. So is it just me? Is it just my face that everyone's seeing? Everyone. Who's in here? Hey, it's me with myself. Hmm. Can people hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hello. Hello, everyone. Three people that are here. Um, I don't know what LowRes is waiting for, but we're supposed to be waiting for this thing to go live, and I guess it's live now. Uh, hello, Ben Watford. Um, announcing that he's African American and homosexual. That's great. We uh we have a big tent in this show, so we welcome homosexual African Americans here. Uh, where
This is actually specifically a show for homosexual Africans.
yeah, it's just gonna be me sitting here, just drinking slowly, and Loris is just gonna sit there in silence in the dark, just
This is going to be like a Kevin
yeah.
Smith live stream where you have a guy who actually does most of the talking, but he never appears on screen. And Kevin Smith will just tell you all these stories about when he was a fat loser who knew movies as a kid. So, what are we drinking tonight, Hans?
Hey, I have a bunch of those stories too. I just realized that I have a lot in common with Kevin Smith. This is a Tajín beer, which is what I always put on my beer whenever I drink a beer. Yeah. Yeah. So where are you? Let's start this shit. It's gonna start raining soon, so I don't know. I don't know how much time I
Oh,
have.
what does that mean? You gotta end the show because of rain? There's a
I'm
rain
just
delay on this episode of movies?
no, I was just trying to make you show up and it worked. So
Okay.
hey, here we
Well, it did
are.
work. I suppose it
Yeah.
did. All right. So I'm gonna do the introduction here. This
Mhm.
part of our live broadcast, for those of you who are watching right now, I don't know how many people we've got, is not going to be featured in whatever gets uploaded to Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please let me know also that you can hear myself and Hans's self A-OK before we begin proper. Just sound off in the chat. Also give a like, thumbs up, of course, and we're going to want some comments when this video is finished. By the way, for those of you who are hanging out right now live in the chat, we do have merch currently on sale, just launched right now. Go to lowres.org. You're going to see phase one of our merch drop. We've got 4 original shows. We're going to talk about this. We're going to pull it up during the show, or Hans is going to bring it up during the show because I'm not
Yep.
doing that. And we've got a poster so far, one poster available for sale in the shop at lowres.org. Our collab with Young Leche is also live, where we have one of a kind Mass State Lottery shirts that are directly inspired from aspects of the movie. So here we go. All right. Well, let's save it for after I do the introduction. So then that
Oh,
way it gets
fair.
recycled into Patreon and everywhere else. So here we
Mhm.
go. This is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. And with me today, his favorite David Lynch movie is No Film. It's Hans. Hans, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, good. Ready to put a smile on your face. Did you
Okay.
just start recording just
You
now?
heard that? Fuck. All right. Listen, what I realized was I did not hit record on the local files for this episode. And this is what happened with the Lady Ballers episode. The last time we went live, I had to pull it from YouTube, and that is not
Yep.
ideal. That is the worst way to get
Mhm.
audio for your show. So here we go. We're actually covering a movie first. We're doing 2 episodes live tonight on YouTube, back to back. For those of you who are tuning in, we're going to be talking about the Todd Phillips 2019 film, Joker. Now, we've done an episode on Joker in the past, in 2019, the same week it came out in theaters. You, myself, one Jerry Jensen, and Jacob A. Miller got together and held court about this movie, which I think
Mhm.
we were all caught off guard by how good it was at the time and how much of a cultural phenomenon that movie wound up being. Who could have predicted that? I know when I had seen early press for Joker, there was a screen test that was released as a like a teaser to the movie where Joaquin was presented in his Joker makeup and outfit for the first time, and they used some obscure 1970s song, which immediately went to number one on iTunes Music
Of
during
course.
that time. I was not sold. I liked the vibe, but I was not sold on the appearance and all of that. Even if it was a John Wayne Gacy mirroring, it didn't have me confident in the movie. Then I showed up and I was just kind of waiting for it to sabotage itself, like many of these movies do. And The Batman 2022 would later do for certain. The Batman, I think, is a movie that gets off to a wonderful start.
Hmm.
You're watching it and you're like, whoa, this is as gritty as Joker. Obviously, it's a bit more comic booky because you got Penguin, you got the Riddler, you got all these other Batman aspects, but it's really working in a way that's kind of similar to Taxi Driver. And then they say, fuck all that. We have to worry about the fans of Batman, the animated series. Batman can't be dark and spooky and saving people from the knockout game. No, 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 no. He's going to save people from a flood. And the Riddler, excuse me, is going to have this terrorist attack on a stadium. And we have to have him be this uplifting hero. And the sun is shining, it's rising, and there's an orange glow on him. And it's a beautiful, horrible, embarrassing fucking film that I've hated more and more every day since I watched it.
And the joke, the Riddler is an incel too, right? The Riddler is
Mm-hmm.
just like a weird incel that instead of being this brilliant mastermind, he's a brilliant mastermind, but he also doesn't get any pussy. So that, and that's his personality. Yeah, honestly, I feel like I tried going back to that movie and it just I I just couldn't. I finished. I watched Joker last night, and that movie, I feel like even though it's a little bit long, like at no point it drags. Like it just, even though I've seen it before. When it comes to that Batman, I started watching it recently, and I got like an hour in, I think, and I got distracted so much that I didn't even know what was going on after that
Mm-hmm.
hour because I just didn't care. So that I think that's a big difference between those two movies. And I think it's mostly because, Joker 1 is such a great character study, right? That
Yeah.
it shows you the character in so many different facets and dimensions that it works a lot better than just we got Robert Pattinson, who I really like, but
Yeah, he's a fantastic choice, I
yeah.
think, for that character and the direction you're going to go in. He's also a pretty safe pick as far as actors within the Warner Brothers stable.
Yep.
I would certainly go with Robert Pattinson, and I don't think he's the worst aspect of that movie. I think there's
No.
an argument to be made that Paul Dano could be one of the lesser aspects of it, especially when you start saying Ave Maria in prison. That was
What do
really
you mean?
embarrassing.
What do you mean? That's creepy and cool and dark.
Is it? I did. I don't know about any of that, but it lost me at that moment. That was the moment where I was like, "Fuck this movie, don't care anymore." And then, oh, we're gonna amp it up with this terrorist plot and the flood and the goons that he's taking down, and it
Well, the
really wound
cat
up leaving a sour taste in my mouth.
the Catwoman angle too is just kind of like, who cares? It feels very forced, that romance there, like that relationship that you need to have Bruce care for a woman for reasons that we don't know. And then that to me always felt very forced.
Mhm.
Uh, Especially when we follow her and then it's just like, oh, she needs to get revenge. It's like, I don't care. Why would I care? You know what I mean?
Yeah, she's
Weird.
not very good in the movie either. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I don't think she's one of the lesser aspects. There's not really a whole lot that's required of her. But she became very sickening, and I have a feeling she ad-libbed a particular line in the movie that the critical drinker probably did a whole 40-minute video on. But I
Oh
don't really
no.
want to get too wrapped up on the Batman. What I would like to get wrapped up on
Hmm?
is this Oreo Coca-Cola that I bought
Why
from the
is
grocery store.
why is that so tiny?
What do
That
you
is
mean?
tiny.
This
The
was a
one I
six
had was
pack. I
like,
tried, yeah, I tried to get a moderate amount in case I didn't like the soda because I watched your reaction live. I think we got
so
a
you got
clip of
a
that on the YouTube channel.
so you got a six pack. That's the moderate amount.
Yeah, I mean, six of these comes out to probably the bottle you drank.
No, mine is like twice that. That's what I had. but
It,
you liked it though.
I
It's
do like, yeah, yeah.
disgusting.
So this
It's
this is
horrendous.
this is what we're leading the show with is I actually like this terrible, embarrassing beverage, and Hans does not like it, which I
I
think would
think
surprise anybody.
No, I don't think that would surprise anyone because if we go back to the show's story, how many drinks that are popular have you brought into the show that you drink and you're like, oh, this is good. Oh, the new Dunkin', even though that one was disgusting, but you did try that one. You had your
That was the
Prime
worst one.
thing.
That was by far the
Yeah.
worst one. That was straight diarrhea in a can. It was atrocious. The pumpkin latte, hard
Yeah.
Dunkin' in a can beverage is not something I will ever pay for or drink in the future.
Yeah. So I think the capitalist that likes to drink different brand beverages in the show is you, not me. I drink water and alcohol and that's it. And that
But
shit
you
gave me a
dress your
stomachache for
alcohol
the
up.
whole
You
show.
put you
Oh
you
yeah.
sprinkle Takis around your glass of
Yep.
booze.
Yep. I do. I mean, I'm not denying that. Yeah, absolutely. Because tastes like shit. So you want to, have the effect and make it taste okay, I guess. I had
Mm.
a lot of peanuts last night, and I woke up at 3 in the morning and just threw up a solid bar of peanuts. Isn't that great?
That's what made you throw up. It's just eating too many peanuts.
Yep, I just had too many at night, I guess, and then I just woke up with a stomach ache, and I went to brush my teeth at 3 in the morning, and when I was cleaning my tongue, I guess I went too far back and just threw up because I have a very weak gag reflex. And
Uh-huh.
then what came out was like a cereal bar of just peanuts. It was just solid. So
That
yeah.
sounds like you threw up a payday.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Pretty much like
Something like that.
Babe Ruth without the chocolate, right?
Sure. Baby Ruth.
Hmm.
Baby Ruth. All right, let's talk about Joker a little bit. You rewatched this for the show, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I rewatched it right after catching Joker Folie in theaters this week because
Hmm.
I had some questions. I had some questions
Oh
for
yeah.
that original 2019 Joker movie, and I wanted them answered. I think I did pretty much answer my questions. What did you,
Before you
yeah,
start, let me ask you, when was the last time you saw it before last night?
the last time I watched Joker was probably 2020 when I had purchased the Steelbook for the
Oh, okay.
movie.
So you had seen it again after the theater because this was my first watch after seeing it in the theater. Uh, and I think I keep my the same opinion that I had before. I I think the movie has aged really well.
Mm.
I don't think that anything. I think the narrative around it has evolved in a way that's probably not the best, but I feel the same way as what I felt like when I first watched it in the theater in 2018,
Well, let's
which
let's
is
go
just
back
yeah.
to 2019 when this movie
Thank you.
came
Yeah.
out because there was a whole culture around it. There was a media storm around it.
Yeah.
We kind of take for granted these days how ineffectual like the media is not as powerful as it was from 2016 to 2019. They've completely decredited themselves, themselves, excuse me. And there was a whole press campaign saying, "Oh, incel shooters are targeting Joker screenings and beware." And I remember I was down in Miami on vacation going to see Joker in IMAX. And I was like, that ain't happening. That's not real. That's not happening. But then you sit down in the theater and you do kind of eye the exits a little bit. You're like, I really hope there's no weirdos in the theater because it's dancing around the back of your head. Clearly, it didn't affect audience numbers at all because it wound up making, I think, over $1 billion on a budget of $50 million. It was a very impressive hit for Warner Brothers during a time where it seemed like they were greenlighting anything comic book related. We take this
Hmm.
for granted now, or maybe we don't. Maybe we're glad now in
Yeah.
retrospect that they don't do it as
Mhm. Yeah.
cavalier and willy nilly as they used to. But for a period of time at Warner Brothers, who was it in charge? Walter Hamada or somebody said, "Yeah, we're going to just make Warner Brothers the DC Comics company," and they met that goal. It took 3 or 4 years to get a Flash movie out. But you got so many interesting projects around that time that would probably never be greenlit any other time in Warner Brothers history. That's also when you had an abundance of those horrible streaming shows like Titans and
Yeah.
the Doom Squad, Doom Patrol, on top of doing the Lois and Clark meets
Oh
the
yeah.
Flash meets Green Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. They were trying to figure out their CW universe and if that was going to be something that would cross over into the films, which they decided, fuck
No.
no, we're not doing that at all. We're actually just going to kill off everything and it's going to be done. It's going to be over with. Kind of a
Which I
smart
mean,
move.
let's fair. Yeah, let's be fair. It's all kind of bad. It's all very supernatural-ish, that whole Arrowverse. So I feel like it's probably a good idea to just keep it on TV instead of bringing it to theater. I feel like none of those actors too like have any type of like big screen charisma. Like they work on a small screen. Like you're not gonna go see Stephen Amell be your nothing against the guy. I think he's a nice guy, but like you're not gonna go to the theater to see a Stephen Amell movie. But as Green Arrow, fine. You can be the leader of this universe as long as he stays on TV.
Yeah, I don't even think, that he's crossed over to Netflix and he's done movies with his brother who actually has better screen presence than him,
Is his
Robbie Amell.
cousin? I thought it was his cousin.
Is it his cousin? No, I thought it was his brother. They
Uh,
look almost exactly alike, except
uh,
Robbie Amell is a little bit cooler. He was in the best Resident Evil movie, Welcome to
oh yeah.
Raccoon City.
Hmm.
So these guys are not really people you want to see pop up in your movie. Nothing against them. I mean, I'll give a pass to Robbie Amell. I think he was very good Chris Redfield. But Grant Gustin, you could fathom being a movie star if he just left Canada.
What type of movie? Romantic comedies? Uh,
Maybe.
DJ Quells type roles?
I wouldn't say a DJ Quails type role. That's very insulting, but I could
I mean,
imagine him in a comedy or like you said, a rom-com of some sort.
if you look at the Flash leather suit where he's just skinny, I mean, it's not that different from like what a DJ Quells Flash would look like, really. So I mean, and let's look at DJ Quell's 2000s career. That was pretty successful, right? You got what the new guy, and then a bunch of roles where he's just like a weirdo, skinny, lanky guy in a bunch of like corny teenage comedies. I'm sure, right? That I'm
Yeah,
not familiar
I
with.
don't think Grant Gustin wants to go from being the hunky Flash on the CW to DJ Quails in the new guy. And even that is like the best case scenario for a DJ Quails.
No, DJ Quells was a paralytic. Is that how you say it? It's
No, he
a
played a
wheelchair
paraplegic on the Jim
paraplegic.
Jeffries
Yeah.
scripted show.
Did you ever watch that show?
I
It's
did. I
mostly
watched the first season of that show, and I don't think it was a good show.
no, it's terrible. It's really bad. It was before he went all lefty, I guess, when he was still being funny. And yeah, it was just bad. But anyway,
What if
yeah,
DJ
I don't
Quails
know.
played the Joker?
It would be a good scarecrow, right?
I mean, he would have Joaquin's body
Yeah.
naturally. He wouldn't have to lose weight for it. I read
Well,
something like
that's
Joaquin had to eat 1 apple a day every day, and that's how he got that skinny.
would you do that for a role?
No, if I
Wait,
was
no,
gonna,
no, no,
if
no,
I, if
hold on,
I,
hold on,
no,
hold
no,
on.
no, no.
Let
If I was gonna do,
let me re-ask the question. Hold on. How much would you ask to get paid to do that role? It's a better question.
to do which role?
To do a role where you have to eat 1 apple a day and nothing else.
1 apple a day? I mean, honestly, it
For
would be the best thing for me health wise. So
wait,
I could,
wasn't there McKinnis like a can of tuna and an apple? I think that was his diet a day. A can of tuna and an apple, which sounds a lot better than just an apple, right?
yeah, maybe a can of
But
tuna. Okay, I mean that's protein, I guess. I would do that for not a million. I would probably do that for like $50,000. I mean, how long are we talking? What is the goal? What are we getting down to? I need to
well,
know.
okay, yeah, fair enough. Because if you think about the machinist, there's not a lot of scenes where he's outside of his home, right? So I feel like you could have shot that movie in maybe a week, two, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say 2 weeks shoot where every day you have to eat a can of tuna. Not have to, but
But to
all you
get
can
down to the
eat,
particular way. Okay.
right? All you can eat is the can of tuna and an apple and a lot of water, I guess, because you're just gonna be pissing all day, uh, for 2 weeks. What would be the lowest salary that you would take for that? Because
Here's
honestly,
what I think we
I
should
would
do. Here's what I think we
I would
should do. I think you should write it down what your number is, and I'll write down what
okay.
my number is, and then we present that. Because when we're live on YouTube, that's the kind of fun and games we can get up to here.
Okay.
And for those of you watching with us, why don't you guess in the chat how much money you think it would take for us to get skinny and healthy? But you're already skinny, so you would have a leg up here, I guess.
I mean, I don't know if that's healthy. A can of tuna and an apple a day, that sounds
Well, think about Ethiopians. What do they eat? A
is that
fly.
what is that what you think health is? Ethiopians eating a fly? Because that sounds like, yeah, like
You
a
you know the
Holocaust.
old African preverb, fly a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah. Hmm. It's a diet before they go and fight in backyards, right? Like Kimbo
Hmm.
Slice. Yeah. I think for 2 weeks. Oh wait, we're writing it down. We're not
We're
saying it out
writing it
loud.
down.
Okay.
I got my answer
Okay.
here ready to go.
Uh,
Sacred Cow in the chat wonders, does Hans love Prime? Hans has never had a Prime, I don't think.
No, it has a lot of sugar. I would die probably if I had
No,
one of
there's no
them.
sugar in Prime. Prime
Oh,
is
really?
35 calories. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I've seen Prime once here in Costa Rica, and the can was $15. So I did not buy the the can of Prime. So maybe I'll, you know what? Live stream when I go to the States of me trying a Prime. That's gonna be one of the episodes that we do when I'm up there.
Hey,
Gonna
that
hook you up.
reminds me, on the website currently, lowres.org, where we're selling a bunch of new merch, we do have
Oh
a
yeah,
Help Hans Come to America fund, which
let's
is going
pull
to
it up.
make, yeah, let's pull this up right now. So Hans is currently pulling up. If you're live with us, you're going to be seeing this. But if you're not live with us and you're on patreon.com/lowres, you're taking a look right now at the apparel section of the website. We've got some brand new shirts. And Hans just ran away. Okay. I can't man this on my own. Hans is in his
I'm
boxers
here.
as well.
I'm right here. Yep.
Okay, let's slow it down. Scroll back up. Scroll back up. We'll just
Okay.
go through all the different items here. That again, if you go to lowres.org, you are going to see a brand new selection of shirts we've got in the shop, including some crossovers with Young Leche, the premier airbrush artist. So here we go. We've got the first one, which is the Low Res Wonder Bread World Tour T-shirt. And with me today is Hans. Somebody gave me the idea for including that on the shirt over on Facebook, and I thought, that's a very good idea. We're gonna include that. Let's check out the Forgotten Genres crew shirt. So these are going to be given out to crew members that work on productions in the years to come for my company, Forgotten Genres. So we've got that. You got a little bit of graphic on the sleeve, on the back. Let's go to the next one. Let's check out the next shirt here. We've got another Forgotten Genre shirt. This is a company employees only
Oops.
golf tourney t-shirt that Hans has yet to pull up. He's too concerned
There
with
we
his Takis beverage here. So this is
go.
a graphic on the back here. And as you might notice in the information section, it says that every order comes with goodies from the Costa Rican theater. And you're not going to know what that is until your order arrives. So here we go. We got that shirt. Let's go on to the
Yeah.
next, and that is going to be a general low res movies. Everything is ruined. T-shirt. That is, you're having a hard time with this, aren't you? Uh, T-shirt here, which again, kind of same deal as everything else. They're all the same price. They come in small to extra large. Maybe we're doing extra, extra large. I don't
Extra,
remember. We
extra.
don't want
Yep.
fatties wearing our
No,
attire here.
but I mean 2X is still American normal, right?
Yeah, 2X is actually kind of the standard for an American. We call that American size.
Yeah.
And then here,
And
here
you
are the one of a kind Young Leche streetwear t-shirts that we have in the shop. We've got the first one, which is Rathke and Devlin from Mass State Lottery. This was a collaboration we did with Young Lecce. And it is the photo booth scene featuring Hans and I. Look at these beautiful illustrations straight from the film, bringing me back to you and I cramped in that photo booth together. Can we just click that real quick? Let's take a look. Okay. No, there you go. All right. This one is actually I find my face in this one especially funny, but I like your mustache.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to just keep this one. I want to
Yeah.
sell it. Yeah.
You know how bad I wanted to just keep the shirts after they arrived. And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you do like a stencil for this? And he's like, nah, it's all just done straight onto the shirt. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So we can't ever get a duplicate. We can't ever do a backup of this. Oh man. So yeah, these are one and done, guys. These are not going to be remade in any form. We've got Buddy Duress as one of the two characters in the film that he plays, Helmet the Clown, which is the gay roommate of the missing boy that my character Rathke is trying to find. So why don't we click the Buddy Duress Helmet the
Yep.
Clown shirt here? We're taking a look at this. Again, patreon.com/LowRes if you're listening to this on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Again, all these shirts come in XL. They're going to be a very comfortable fit. And you go to lowres.org. That is lowres.org. We'll bring you to the merchandise website here. Then we've got the Happy Fisherman shirt. And Happy Fisherman is somebody near and dear to Hans's character, Devlin.
Mm-hmm.
Someone
Mm-hmm.
quite close to Devlin, in fact. And he
Yeah.
does some bad things in the movie. And Young Lecce designed this after the appearance of Happy Fisherman in the film. Then we've got Vitali the Hobgoblin. Little known fact, before the film was titled Mass State Lottery, it was titled Hobgoblin. And then we worried, is Marvel Disney going to have a problem with us using the Hobgoblin name? Now, obviously, it's
Yeah.
Sony that owns that. But as it turned out, the Massachusetts State Lottery had more of a problem than Disney
That's
probably would have with
that's what I was about
Hobgoblin.
to say. Yeah, we had more of an issue with the Massachusetts State Lottery than Disney.
Now,
So
Vitaly is voiced by another YouTuber you guys in the chat might be familiar with, Vernaculus, Justin Little. He is an author, now a voice actor, and a political commentator. So that is our Vitaly for this film. Then we are going over to the decor section. I think this is the last of the merch for phase one. We have the A2 theatrical poster for Mass State Lottery here, which is pretty simple. Will look very nice on your wall. It's a very quality print. We do have another, I think, a little moody photograph. This actually photo is not actual size. This is not the A2 size, but it's on my wall right now. I don't know if you can see. It's actually right up here.
next
So
to next to Ted there. Yeah.
next to old Uncle Ted. So there you go. This is phase one of our merch launch. We're actually going to have a couple of secret items added to the store later tonight for you old heads in the chat that are fans of the Let's Play era, as you go and you call it in the Discord. Let's Play era merch has been uncovered. We're going to throw some of those up. They're very limited supply. Oh, and we've got home media coming. So interpret that for what you will. We're going to have some announcements about that within the next couple of weeks. One of those has already been announced. It's an audio book of Max
Yep.
Thrax's God is a Killer, his debut novel, which is a quality piece of crime writing based out of Massachusetts. Fits the vibe perfectly of Forgotten Genres. I was so pleased to acquire the audio rights to that novel and work with him and produce and direct that audiobook. So that is going to be coming in November, but we've got some other stuff that is going to pop up in the home media section at lowres.org. Keep your eye on that, bookmark that. And how could we forget? This is what prompted checking out the website. We got the Bring
Yeah.
Hans to America fund. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to be straightforward with you guys. Hans is coming to America regardless, but he's currently living in like a one-bedroom studio apartment. He's going to be eating tuna and one apple a day unless you contribute to this fund right here. I still got my number written down and ready to go. But why don't we just read what we've got here on the website? You know him, you love him, You listen to him twice a week and have heard about his gastrointestinal issues more times than you can count. We want to bring actor, writer, and Renaissance man Hans Lam Barboza back to the United States this winter to shoot not one, but two scripted projects in pre-production for release in 2025 and co-host a live Q&A screening of Mass State Lottery in New York. So this would be in November.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, importing a third world talent to America doesn't come cheap, unless you take advantage of the NYC housing crisis, but Hans is a noble man.
I don't want to
High
go through the
roller
border. Yeah.
contributions. Yeah, you could do that, and then we'd get a
Mhm.
nice head start. We get a nice $1,500 head start to this.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I should do that. There's a budget there for whatever we do. Yeah. From the
Oh, yeah.
government.
Well, what do
Mhm.
they call you on the Indian website? Internationally renowned comedian and entertainer.
Yeah. Hmm. Yep.
High roller contributions, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 can earn you associate producer, executive producer, and producer credits on one of the upcoming two projects that will be released in 2025. So, Cringe Lord is currently going to be the second film that I direct. And we're looking to shoot that in November. We got to jump through a couple of hoops first to make sure that that's going to happen. Mass State Lottery is done. I know somebody was asking about OFC in the chat. I'm going to get to that after we're done here. So,
Yep.
just hang tight. King Inc. 81. And there's also a sitcom that's currently in development called Combat Zone Massachusetts. It might be called
Yeah.
Lunchtime Rowdies when all is said and done. And it's a 5 episode sitcom about New England construction workers that are working on condominiums and are being priced out of their own hometown. So we want to do both of these. And that second one, that sitcom, would have an all-star cast full of familiar faces you've seen on this program, probably, and many other things. Kind of like how OFC was conducted, where we brought in people you probably wouldn't see in the roundup for our regular shooting, but got in the mix. So that is the lowres.org website right now. We're going to get back to the show. Thank you guys for enduring this paid programming here. If your wallet is empty and that completely disinterested you, I appreciate you hanging out and enduring that. But you should go.
Yeah.
You should go because some of that stuff is one of a kind. Go purchase it. It's all going to whatever we're shooting in November. So
Yeah.
here we go. Anything I'm missing here as far as stones that have yet to be unturned?
No, I don't think so. I think you did a pretty good job at reading and explaining all that stuff. I think uh m- even though I saw someone on the Discord earlier today asking for a fourth Mass State Lottery clip, but it's like, well, the movie is gonna be shown in like a month, so I don't think a fourth clip is necessary, you know. But I think we're putting out the final touches for the screening thing, and should be announced soon, right?
I
You
think so.
know,
Yeah. I think once we get things locked in with your travel
yeah.
accommodations, all of that is going to be announced. So it's just a matter of that. Now, as far as OFC goes,
Hmm.
I don't really know how much I can really talk about with that, but we had an issue with
Yeah.
the production company that paid to make OFC and had the rights to OFC, and that is ultimately what wound up tying things up. But that's been resolved now, and it's been resolved for the better. And yours truly is actually quietly hard at work on that. So you should be getting an update on that soon. It's still in utero, I guess, and
It
it will
exists.
be
Yeah.
it definitely exists. It definitely does exist, and it will be seen at some point, probably in 2025, I would say. At this point, it's just really a matter of, okay, let's lock in the Mass State
Mm,
Lottery Q&A screening for New York,
yeah.
and we want to go off and we want to start shooting a new project that will not have any of those complications. That will be a bit closer to Mass State Lottery in terms of autonomy, you know? So that would be the goal there for right now. But OFC is still on the docket. It's still happening, and it will be coming.
I
Will we be shipping to the UK? Asks She's in the Shower. Yeah, we do international shipping. It's going to be a little pricier than domestic shipping, of course, but yeah, it's available.
I just want to say that maybe one day, and I think I said this on the Discord, but maybe one day a documentary will come out as to what happened with OFC, and I think it will be like an interesting watch for people that are interested in that project because it is like a very I don't even want to say Hollywood like story, but it kind of is. You know, if you really think about it, it's very much like a who's involved and what's going on. So I feel like maybe in the future there's like a an opening for a documentary as to how the series came along, and that would explain a lot of the why there's been a delay for it.
Well, I can't get into that. And legally, I can't get
No?
into some of that.
Right.
I actually agreed to
Okay.
not do that in exchange for possession of the series. So I
Okay,
can't
so
really.
so I guess if you go to bring Hans to Costa Rica and then when we go to the Q&A and you ask me in person, I'll tell you exactly what happened. How about that?
Hans doesn't know anything. Okay. Hey, what's your number, Hans? All right, so let's just well,
Yeah.
what is the Heath Ledger quote? Let's wind the clocks back a year and give each other our numbers for how much it would cost to get us to eat an apple a day.
For 2 weeks?
For 2 weeks of
That.
shooting, it could be as long as it takes to get down to a particular 110-pound weight.
All right. I'll go 5,000.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
See, what I
I'm
said was, I don't know if you can see that, $40,000.
all right.
Five
Well, I think
thousand
that
dollars to lose that much. I mean, look, I'm not attached to my. I would love to lose weight, but let's get real here. You have heart problems. You have all sorts of issues, and that's a lot of work, commitment. I got to have that 40K on my mind every second of it.
I feel like I was just thinking of like how much I make in my job a month. And I was like, if I do that times 2.5, that should be good enough. Um, so that's why I went down to that number. So if you have no budget for your movie and you want to make an actor suffer, I'm your guy. I'm the guy, I guess.
Apparently so. I mean, how much could they have paid Joaquin Phoenix for the role of Arthur Fleck, Joker, in the 2019 movie Joker, if the budget's 50 million?
Ah, I mean, a couple million, I'm sure, right? Just because of his name.
We'll get into it when we talk about the sequel, but people have been wondering why the hell is the budget so large on Joker Folie Deux? And I entirely suspect it's because Joaquin wanted much more money and Lady Gaga also wanted her fair share of the money.
Apparently he got 4.5 million on the first Joker. Um, I would definitely eat a can of tuna and an apple a day for 4 million. I
Oh,
think you can just
absolutely.
I can go a whole year just having one can of tuna and a lot of water for that much. But yeah,
Good deal. And he got an
yeah.
Oscar out of it and a new, very controversial sequel. So, where were you at in the media blitz that was leading to the release of Joker? Did you have any high expectations for this movie? What was your level of interest, I guess, going into it, especially during that time? We're coming out of the Zack Snyder universe of films.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad brought us a Jared Leto Joker, and then they announce we're doing this other separate Joker movie. And if you remember, guys, he was still supposed Jared Leto was still supposed to do his Joker movie with Harley Quinn that they wound up scrapping, of course, but he believed it was happening until Joker 2019 came out in theaters, essentially. And that
Yeah.
wiped out all the taste that for entertaining that terrible idea.
Yeah, I think I was already checked out on superhero stuff at that time. And I was hoping that this would be different, and it was. So
Mhm.
I think that's why it still holds up, and it's still it doesn't feel like out of time, out of place. Like it's still, like I said, I feel the same way watching it last night as I did when I first saw it in the theater. And I think that has a lot to do with how it doesn't really have to fit into a universe outside of the movie. It doesn't have to follow the rules that Marvel movies, or let's say the DCU, whatever the fuck that was before this movie, had to follow the same rules so that it would fit in the same universe. So I like the fact that it was like a standalone thing. Uh, I don't know how happy I was with the announcement of a sequel because I thought that this movie was perfect on its own. Well, maybe not perfect, but like I feel like the way that it ended was like a great way of ending this type of movie. But yeah, at the time I was just completely out of caring about anything that had to do with superhero because Marvel kind of ruined that, and I kind of feel the same way right now. If it wasn't a Joker movie, I don't think I would have gone to the theater to see the second one.
Yeah, I think the mere idea of doing a Joker movie was a pretty risky concept and also a common sense concept. It's such a popular character, but there's a lot of room for it to go wrong. And taking an approach like Todd Phillips did and basing the look of the Joker on Pogo the Clown, it's a whole new aesthetic for what this
Yeah.
character is and has been. And then giving a backstory, which is always a bit controversial with the fans of the comic book. If you ask anybody, they'll go, okay, well, Killing Joke is the definitive Joker origin
Mhm.
story. Some people like the Heath Ledger mysterious, I'm going to give you a different story every time I talk to you,
Yeah.
origin of that. Some people like
Uh,
the Burton Jack Nicholson, Jack
Jack
Napier
Napier.
character.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to displease the fans and the viewers by simply entertaining the idea of doing this type of movie. And I think Todd Phillips got around all of that by just having a talented actor on board and knowing what to do with the script and where to take the script. It's gotten a lot of criticisms that it's derivative of Scorsese, King of
Yeah.
Comedy, Taxi Driver, and it never tries to hide that. So I don't understand that as a valid criticism for the movie, that this is a lesser version of those or a better version of this movie exists, but it's not the same movie. And
No.
frankly, the elements of Joker, there are parts of Joker that are so momentous that they
Mhm.
don't even match what you would see in Taxi Driver or King of Comedy. That's not to say it's a better movie, but the level of what is being amped up in that third act, especially, I don't think you can compare many films to that. Quentin Tarantino has a pretty popular soundbite talking about how impactful Todd Phillips was at orchestrating the audience to get behind Joker killing Murray Franklin, who's a innocent bystander for the most part. He's no different than anybody who exists on YouTube today that's showing a clip of some cow and making fun of them and using that for content. It's the same exact thing. And he takes
Okay,
a bullet to the face.
but let's be real. How many of them would you wish you could just shoot a bullet on their face?
If you guys want to super chat and ask us who we'd like to shoot in the face,
Yeah, I'm Maury Franklin felt a lot like this is a very touch point of him to bring this retard to make fun of on his show, and then it's just like, hey, let's show how unfunny you are. I think what you said is true though, because one of the reviews that I saw about Joker 2 was that, oh, this is what happens when you don't copy a better movie and base your movie on that, which is saying pretty much like, yeah, you copied Taxi Driver, so that's why Joker 1 was good. And I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's true. Because even though there is a lot of similarities between those two movies, I feel like Joker still like stands on its own. Because even though he is uh like a weird, mentally deranged character, like a Travis Bickle would be, I think that the main reason why people think that this is a copy of Taxi Driver is because of the setting. You got a 70s New York where it's all dirty and like hopeless and nobody gives a fuck about regular people. But I honestly, when it comes to like everything else that happens in the movie, I mean, uh, I guess I can see it, but I don't think the Taxi Driver similarities for Joker 1 is what makes that movie strong or what makes that movie work.
mhm.
So as much as you can say that Todd Phillips ate from that movie, and I agree, he did ape some of those elements. I think like it also has to do with the fact that if you're setting up a movie in the 70s that's in New York with a hopeless character that's going against the grain or against society or whatever, I mean, is there any other or many other examples in Taxi Driver that you can maybe get some inspiration from? Or even if he wasn't getting inspiration from, which I'm sure he was, uh, it's still New York in the 70s. So it's all going to look very similar. Like I'm thinking of the fuck, what's the prostitute killer Joe
Joe Spinell, Maniac.
just been out Maniac. I'm thinking Maniac, right? So Maniac, it's also 70s, and it's got that setting and that awfulness of that time, that weird feeling that you get from movies from that time. And it fits because it's in that time period. And I think that a lot of what happens in Joker, or a lot of the reasons why that people relate that to Taxi Driver, it's the setting. Uh I mean, I'm hoping, right? And I feel like that's it's a very strong element from the movie, but I think those comparisons are a little overblown, especially after rewatching it last night for the second time after seeing it in the theater. I feel like the movie on its own has enough to stand alone without those comparisons.
I completely agree. And also, we can't neglect, I know we got into a little bit before, but the culture that this movie existed in, which
Yeah.
was people dressing up as the Joker for years to come, that becoming a meme. Trump showed Joker at the White House. This
Oh.
was a big movie. It won, what did it win? The Golden Lion. It won the
Mm.
Golden Lion. A comic book movie won the Golden Lion. Joaquin wins Best Actor. The second time this character earned somebody an Academy Award.
Yeah.
Crazy success for this movie. And it works. It still works today. It still works with the sequel.
Hmm.
And we'll get into the sequel shortly. We're going to be talking about it and unpacking a lot of our thoughts on that and also the criticisms about that movie, whether or not they're valid or a little histrionic. But this Joker movie, I feel it still works very well. And I was concerned after seeing the sequel because people love to make, or they don't really so much anymore, but they loved to make this argument of, well, just because this sequel exists or this remake exists or this reboot exists, usually this was used about the Ghostbusters movie that featured Melissa McCarthy and Leslie Jones and Kate McKinnon. They always love to throw out, just because this movie exists doesn't mean you can't go back to the first movie. But that neglects this notion, this fact of life that context changes. And so the context of that first Joker movie is everything that I just detailed. It was that cultural explosion and it being about a good movie, kind of irrelevant that it was a comic book movie. It was
Yeah.
just a good movie on its own. The fact it was a Batman villain, how often do you remember that aside from Thomas Wayne coming up
That's
or
it.
that right, that's about it. That's as comic booky as it gets, is that character and the Bruce Wayne moment
Well,
where
yeah,
Arthur goes to the gates.
that is the only connection, right, that it has with Batman. And you don't get that on the second one, but I don't think it's necessary. I think it it kind of I don't want to say grounds it into like what the Batman universe is just because it's mentioned, but at the same time, I feel like it's when the character starts going into the deep end, when he starts realizing that maybe his mom has been lying to him this whole time. And it's when his character starts breaking, so it is important. But at the same time, I like the fact that the Wayne name is not really important in this franchise, if you want to call it, because I feel like a lot of the Joker media that we consume is always linked to a Batman or like the guy that's gonna fight him or whatever. And I like the fact that here, uh, the only connection he has was like, hey, maybe Batman is his brother. But then, we just find out that his mom was as crazy as he was. And
Well, hold on. We don't clear that up definitely. When
right.
I went back to the movie and I knew this exiting the movie, there are aspects about that element that are totally gray, and they don't
Hmm.
really come up in the sequel. But let's table the sequel for
Yeah.
now. But yes, they keep the comic book references to a minimum. And yet, when I watched Joker again the other day, I was like, oh, yeah, this is actually much more comic booky than Joker Folie do, in spite of that. And I think what it does so well is taking you on this course that you can believe and then giving a new identity to this character that you're so familiar with just from the last 80 years of comic book history and film history. You get Jack Nicholson, you get Cesar Romero, again, Jared Leto, unfortunately, Heath Ledger, of course. And then you're doing something brand new and you're lowering the stakes. You're bringing the stakes down. He's not poisoning the water supply. He's not putting Drano in the cotton candy at the local fair. He doesn't have these giant balloons going over Gotham to release poison gas. He's just going to shoot an old fuck in the face. That's all he wants to do. And you're rooting for him to do it. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
you said that was very Tosh.0 of Murray Franklin. That is the only aspect, I think, of that movie that doesn't register as 1980 to me.
Yeah.
That
Hmm.
feels more the last 20 years or so. Howard Stern obviously started to do that in the 90s,
Yeah.
but that isn't something that you would see from David Letterman or any talk show host in the
No,
80s.
you don't get to sit on the couch unless you're hilarious. And that's yeah, it felt very modern. Like I said, Touch point oh, where you would just bring a whatever retard on the internet is popular right now. Let's bring it up so we can make fun of it. But then, it's nice because we'll be nice to him, but he's still a retard we're laughing at. And in this movie, that happens, even though it, De Niro kind of fucking sucks in this. I don't know if you feel
He's
the
still
same
asleep. He's
way.
doing his David O.
Yeah.
Russell standard
Okay.
performance of I'll read the line, I won't give anything else.
It's just, uh, you don't know the last thing about me, pal. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. You suck. So that really bothered me, like that whole interaction at the end, because you can tell that he's just like going through the motions. Like he's not even trying. He's just sitting there. But I don't know. I feel like when it comes to comic book movies, I saw that there was someone that left a comment. Hold on, saying, let me just tell you exactly who it was.
What did they
They
say?
wanted to know what our favorite comic book movie is. Where
Oh,
do we
okay.
go?
Do you want to start with that? Was that Sacred Cow?
Maybe someone did in the chat. Let me see. Come on.
The chat
Anyway,
won't
so
go to the beginnings. Well, let's just give it to Sacred Cow. Thank you for such
okay.
a great question.
So whoever asked that, there's I would say either Batman 89 for me
Hmm.
or Guardians of the Galaxy 1.
Oh,
I
wow.
th I
Fighting
think
James Gunn on a live
yeah.
stream. I would say Batman 89 is definitely it for me. And the Joker movie was the closest cousin I feel that there has
Okay.
existed since it.
I like the fact that Guardians is so colorful and so away from the what I feel like was a mistake where Hollywood just went, well, if it's a comic book movie, it has to be dark for no reason. So I think like that one was able to balance the darkness and the funny as or better than any other of those Marvel movies. So that's why I still
Sure.
hold that one in a high regard. At the same time, I haven't seen it in years, so I don't know how well it holds up, but I think that's the one where I would point at when it comes to like silly, unserious, I guess, comic books. But yeah, I think that when it comes to aesthetic and when it comes to uh a comic book character looking larger than life, I don't think you can go wrong with Batman 89, even though I'm not a huge fan of that Jufro that Bruce Wayne wears in that movie. Like I think his look is a little maybe not the best,
Oh,
but
I don't mind that at all. I kind of like that. I mean, similar to what you get with Joker where
Yeah.
Arthur's appearance is not really the vibe necessarily of the Joker. It's not, but it's not quite everything with his aesthetic is not exactly it. I don't mind that. I don't mind that Tim Burton was like, yeah, we're just gonna have a man with curly hair who's 5'5" and
It's
wears
balding.
round glasses. He's gonna be
Yeah.
Batman. He's gonna be our Batman. By the way, DC here in the chat sent us a super chat for a
Okay.
Canadian $5 bill. How about this? Do you want to read what DC
Boo.
here has put in the chat?
It says the original Joker 2019 ends with the same Cream song that two Entourage episodes end with. Hashtag I am Queens Boulevard. I mean, I love that if we have one person in our, I guess, universe that likes. I mean, you started watching Entourage again,
But
right?
I started watching Entourage again
Because
because of DC bringing up Entourage so much.
yeah.
So does that
Okay.
count? Maybe I'm enjoying Entourage. Let's be clear. I am enjoying my time with Entourage. So it's a good thing he got me turned on to it. But yeah,
Let me acknowledge some of the chats because I just noticed that there's a bunch of stuff in here.
sure.
Okay. Let's see.
What do we got?
Let me see. Rikiera Law Coke Bullets. I don't know what that is. Let's see. Glad presents Mass State Lottery. Any updated OFC? Can't wait to check that out.
Oh, you're
Just
going way
King.
far back. We addressed the
Yeah.
cream of the crop. You know what? If you want to make sure that your
Yeah.
message gets read and addressed, send us a super chat and we'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk about whatever you want to say. So we'll just leave it at that
Okay.
for right now. Old boy technically counts as Ben Watford. But here's the thing. I know that is technically an adaptation
Mm,
of a manga,
yeah.
but Park Chan-wook deviated so heavily, it's hard for me to consider it that. Crunchy Scarf Deluxe. I think my primary problem with Joker is some of the dialogue is a little iffy and the performances around Joaquin can be flat. Folie does this better. That's an interesting take.
Mm.
What do you think about that? I don't
Uh,
think anyone gives a bad performance. I think Zazie Beats is a little
yeah.
she waffles a bit.
She's the one. Uh, I love the little midget guy. I think he's
Oh, he's
great.
good. He's very
In
good.
both of them. I think on the second one he's also great. Yeah, I think that who's bad? I mean, his mom is not great.
We were just
That
talking about De
lady.
Niro being flat, but I mean, De
Yeah.
Niro, even when De Niro's bad, he's still passable just because he's got De Niro's face.
Yeah.
So that's the thing too.
Yeah.
But he's definitely
Yeah.
not giving his best. Maybe I feel like we might have talked him up at the time, but now that we know from Killers of the Flower Moon that he can still act if he wants to, then we got to kind of neg him a little for his performance in Joker. It could have been more interesting. Mark Maron gives a hell
Oh
of a
yeah.
performance.
Does he? He's very blurry whenever he's emoting, which is
Mm,
when Joker is in the show and then you just see him in the background being like that's all he does pretty
yeah.
much. Uh I'm
Brian
glad to
Callen,
see. That was a good reminder though that he was someone that exists. So that's good.
for
I'm
sure.
not familiar with what Marin is doing now. Callan is in this movie?
Yeah, Brian Callen's in the movie. Gary Goldman is in the movie.
Sam
Todd
Morril is in the
Phillips
movie.
recruited from the LA Comics Club. Oh yeah, Sam Morril is in the movie too. I forgot about that until his voice came up,
Yeah.
and then they panned to him on stage.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I feel when it comes to performances, I do trying to think. The second one does have a lot of really good performances. As much, I mean, we'll get to it, but I had a lot of issues with the Lady Gaga character, but we'll get to
Interesting.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Um,
we will get to that, but again, focusing on Joker 2019,
yeah.
there's the other aspect with this movie that we haven't delved into too much. That is kind of absent from the sequel, kind of, not really, but it kind of is that Arthur is such an unreliable narrator for his
Mhm.
own story.
Yeah.
We go in and out of these lapses of fantasy that are not clear to us at the time, explicitly anyway, are fantasy. They don't make sense. Where you have Zazie Beats' character maybe being a little too friendly, a little too flirty to
Mm.
him. I don't think a lot of audience members, though, are reading that as, well, this is clearly made up in his head, because then they do cut back to a montage of here's everything he imagined. And I
Yeah.
remember reading the original script to Joker, and Arthur was supposed to have a cat. He was supposed to have a cat in his apartment, and then the cat suddenly just evaporated. And you'd find out at the end that he was completely psychotic, and he was just imagining this cat the whole time. There's another aspect of the Joker script that I read that was the big guy that he kills at the end when him and the midget come to visit.
Yeah.
Is supposed to be his stepfather who molested him, and the mother dealt with that.
I don't like
They
that.
removed that.
Yeah, good. I don't like that. He's getting too close to him. You know what I mean? Like I feel like one of the strongest parts of this movie is that we don't know what's the thing that triggered him from his early abuse. So the fact that he's not going against that and trying to like get revenge on it, I kind of like, because then it's just like you're just tortured and fucked up, but you're not like, oh, I can't wait to get revenge on that guy or mom, even though he kill her. So I
No,
guess
I agree.
I
I think
guess
that would have been too on the nose. And also the guy that they cast that would have been his stepfather is like the same age as Joaquin. So what kind of
uh,
weird relationship is that? It just sounds like
yeah.
boyfriends to me.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a better choice, I think. And honestly, looking back at the Joker movie, I don't think there's any choice that bothers me enough where I would think that I would do anything differently. There was some of the criticism that I saw for the second movie where people are saying that it's very hopeless and there's not a lot of hope for this Joker character, but rewatching the first one, what hope is there for this character? He gets caught. I mean, he goes through it. He kills those very annoying frat guys that I think anyone would want to kill in the subway. I think everyone
Sure.
has gone through something similar like that. So fine. And then you
Oh,
kill
this
the
hold
De
on. Is
Niro
this a
character.
callback to the time there was a black man on the subway who accused you of taking photos of him?
Yes, I would have killed that man.
Okay.
Uh, but then you have him killing his mom, which if you think about it, she's been lying to him his entire life, and he's all fucked up. So fine, makes sense, I guess. Uh, so I don't know. I feel like all the crime that he performed or he did in this kind of makes sense with who his character is. At the same time, I feel like that narrative, the second one, where it's like, well, is it you or is it Joker? I, oh, I was a little like trying to give it a justification, I guess, to for him to be set free. But on the first one, nothing like that. Like there's just, well, this is who you were, and then you just become this guy, not because not that different from who you already were. It's just like a little trigger went off, and now you're just a little bit more of a maniac, but that's it. You know, that there's not like a
Sure.
huge change there between from him. And I think that works, yeah, like really well.
Somebody asked in the chat, are you saying Joker is bisexual?
I
There's
mean,
a history in the comics that indicates Joker's a pretty open-minded fella. If you go to the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns, Bruno,
yeah.
what does Bruno have in his or her pants? We don't know. We just know what they got up top. So,
But I think one of the aspects that I like about this movie is that we don't this is not a Joker that you've seen before, right? This is like this oh, this is
Hans is having a seizure live on the air. Please send super chats to save Hans.
this is like the Batman 89 Jack Napier character, right? Where it's like we're just gonna come up with our own backstory. And I think that's why it works really well for me because it's just like you just can't make up anything you want. Uh but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people. I I posted a review of this movie on Letterboxd last night, and I think Mumkey Jones read too much into it, so I had to delete it because what I said was, "Don't hate the movie just because you think that the Joker was literally me," which I feel like a lot of people are upset with the second movie just because the Joker character is a little different, and he's not the, this president of chaos that just wants to see the world burn type of thing. And I feel
The
like
president of chaos.
a
I
lot of
like
people,
that.
a lot of people felt identified with that. And on the second episode, I'll read that review that I found. But I feel like a lot of people felt identified with the anti-state or anti-elites narrative. But then we're watching this movie, it's just like, is there really that much of that narrative in here, other than, well, this is just like nobody gives a fuck about, which is very America anytime, So I don't know. I feel like there was like a bit of a disconnection there with me when it comes to well, now this Joker is different than the first Joker, when it's the character doesn't really change that much. Is the things that are around him that change, right? Would you say?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. I think this Joker is so different from. Here's the thing: is if you're a comic book character and you're coming from that medium, every single version of events has probably occurred. It's like a soap opera. How do you even determine what's canon and what's not canon? What is it going to be canon in 10 years when I do my Batman and Joker movie when it's public domain? Is that the canon? Yes, it is the canon for all
Yeah.
73 people in the chat right now. Shout outs to Kevo giving us $10 for this Joker review. So when Joker came out in 2019 and I released my end of the year list, I said Joker was the best movie of the year.
Hmm.
And I stand by that. I think it's a better movie than Dragged Across Concrete. That was my number 2 movie of the year. I think it's a better movie than Parasite, certainly. It
Fair.
communicates kind of similar things
Yeah.
to Parasite, but I think it does it so much more stylized and better. I think the performances are better. I think people were just getting ravaged by Korea in 20. They were getting excited about Korea. And it's like, hey, Korean movies have been the best movies for about 20 years, and now they actually suck. Now they
Yeah.
suck when you like it and you're paying attention to it. And now who's thinking about Korea at all? Makes me sick.
Yeah.
Makes me
That's
think about
right.
the dog I saw in an alley that was getting cooked up on a grill. And that's not me
Yeah.
being racist. That actually happened. I smelled fucking dog smoke in my nostrils. It was
It wasn't
gross.
even Ohio, right? When they say stop Asian hate, I think this is the worst time to stop Asian hate, because this is when Asian movies are bad. So I will not
We need to
stop.
amplify Asian
Yeah.
hate.
Bring
That's
us
the
back
slogan of
to
this podcast here.
that's right. Yeah. Bring us back to old boy quality and I saw the devil quality of movies, not fucking what was that new movie that we didn't like from that director, this Korean Japanese director that was
Okja.
yeah.
What is the new
Yeah.
one with Rob Pat? Is what is it? Nathan 17 and he dies 17 times. Listen, Korea, go back to your own country. That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna say about that.
That's right. Immigrants, get out
I think we
so
were
that can
talking
come
about the
in.
sympathizer briefly. Maybe we were talking about that. Listen, anytime you give them a pat on the back, you start talking about how good they are, then they start sucking, and then they start wanting to do American
Ow.
projects. And guess what? The American projects and the English speaking projects are never as good as what they're going to do in Korea. Parasite was the best movie that Bong Joon-ho had done in over 10 years. Snowpiercer sucked. Oak just sucked. Parasite I thought was good. Mickey 17
Mm.
is going to be a huge mess, says King Inc. 81. I completely agree. I watched that trailer. I thought it looked like a disaster.
What's that?
So
Mickey
that's the
17?
that's the new Bong Joon-ho movie with Robert Pattinson as the star.
Mm.
Kevo asked past lives. No, Asian American cinema and television is always bad. It's always, and that's probably the best example of that. It's always embarrassing. It's always bad. Asian American cinema fucking sucks.
What, you don't like
Asian cinema is great.
crazy rich Asian? I couldn't even say crazy rich
Damn,
Asians.
you said like an Asian too.
Crazy rich Asians. Did you like that movie? You
No,
didn't see
I
it.
definitely
Of
did
course you didn't see
not.
it.
I did
Do you
not.
see it? Oh, fucking see that shit. Uh,
All right, that's enough Asian
uh,
racism. They've done your people have done enough goodness for mankind. We'll bring it back.
yeah.
We'll center it. There's no Asian people
How
in Joker.
Hambone Jones said the host was great. That's my favorite Bong Joon-ho movie.
I hate that movie.
I love that movie. It's so funny. It's so terrible with that terrible CGI monster, but it's so funny.
That Joyride movie, abysmal, says King Inc. 81. That brought it to an end. That
What's
movie,
Joyride?
that really embarrassing female comedy where they're shitting in the woods because they ate too many magic mushrooms or whatever.
What?
I saw the trailer to that in front of some movie. I think it was like
Um,
Exorcist Believer had that at the front of it. And I watched that. I was like, God damn, Asian people have become so embarrassing. This movie is going to be a turd and it's going to get 90%. And I was right. It got 90% immediately on Rotten Tomatoes. And then it disappeared because nobody showed up for it. Nobody cared about it. The trailer told everyone this fucking stinks. Ignore it. So that kind of brought the Asian American wave to an end. And
hmm.
now, what do they try to do now? Anytime it's a AAPI month on HBO Max, they throw in an Indian man in a dress, not like a Bollywood dress, but like a dress with lipstick. They say, "Oh, he's Asian." That just became, listen, I know that's in Asia. That just became Asian in the last 5 years. Kamala Harris, Asian. Nah, I don't think so. Like we used to just call that dot. That's what we used to
You
call it in the day. Dot.
can I show you what Asian cinema is now?
Yes. I'd love
Uh,
to see.
this is
Mood
this is
Dang.
Bowen Yang playing Bo Mutang on
This is
SNL.
such a racist pitch. It's like, who's the Asian on the show? Moo Dang is from Thailand. All
This
right,
is
Bowen,
Bowen Yang.
get in the Moo costume.
I mean, good for them. This is way braver than I think they would ever do before. So good, good. Good. Oh shit, I'm not gonna play it because fucking
No, I
stinks.
don't.
But
We're not watching. No.
no, no,
We will get flagged. This will get taken down if we play any SNL
yeah.
clips. Did anything change for you when you went back to Joker? I know you're saying you're still high on it. You're still hot on it. You think it's as good as when you first watched it, but did anything change? Oh, and I don't even think I made my point with the Ghostbusters comparison where people say, oh, the movie's going to be there. Context changes, and that changes the quality of the film. I defy you to watch Iron Man now and have it
Oh
with the same feeling in your
no,
bones as you watch that film as when it came out in 2008. It's impossible. It's
you can't.
impossible. There are so many clones. It's so derivative. Even The Dark Knight, when The Dark Knight landed like a crater in theaters in 2008, it was such a moment. And now you can't get that today when you watch The Dark Knight. So many movies have
Yeah.
done The Dark Knight. You can't get
Also,
it.
also the Heath Ledger Joker is kind of cringe now. I think the internet has ruined that character completely because now you see it and it's just like when he's doing the tongue thing and like
When
the
he's doing
list
the
thing,
Smart
it's like
Schoolboy 9, the
yeah, he's just kind of like, oh no, this has been ruined for me completely. I can't take you seriously because all the online Santa Cruz jokers that have trying to ape up the, the, my mouth is very wet and I am not Joker because my mouth is it's dry actually, not wet. It's
can we
very
get?
dry.
I would love to see a version of the Joker that is Smart Schoolboy 9. That's just what I want, personally speaking, in the future. Is don't like, all right, you thought Joker and Joker Folie do was small stakes. How about a Joker that just runs a pedophilic Instagram and goes around town in a schoolboy's costume and he's Kenyan?
African Joker, yeah.
I
I
think there's a
mean,
lot of potential there. All right. Why don't we get I don't even think I allowed you to answer the question here. Did anything change for your viewing of Joker when you watched it?
no. Well, I've only seen it twice, theater and this rewatch. I was surprised at how well it held up and how much I enjoyed it. Especially after seeing the second one. But no, honestly, I think it's very difficult for a comic book movie to hold to, a couple of years later still hold up and not be horribly embarrassing. And I feel like this one, for all the elements that are not what you would call comic book elements, I guess, which ground the movie a little bit more, uh, make it stand the pass of time better than what an Iron Man or like even like a Winter Soldier movie would, which is supposed to be like the best Marvel movie, right? I'm not sure that will hold up as well anymore.
Mhm.
So I was really surprised by that about how much I didn't cringe watching this, where I was expecting some of that.
Yeah, I was very surprised that everything held itself together even 5 years after its original release, and that I wasn't put off by any of the elements that I thought could be potentially dodgy. I think that the third act of the movie is still top notch and one of the best third acts of any film that's out there. And this is one of the few movies when it did come out, I saw it multiple times in the theater. I caught it in IMAX in Miami and everybody just had to see Joker. I took my mom to go see Joker, and she never
Hmm.
goes to the theater. She saw Joker, she saw Elvis. That's it. So I think it was an important movie for that decade of time, especially 2019 seems to capture all the important films of that decade. Joker is certainly among them. And it is definitely one of the best comic book films, one of the best DC Comics films. And I think it's a classic Warner Brothers movie in every way. And so I can't recall when it was, but we wound up doing an episode of movies in early 2020 when there were rumblings
Hmm.
discussing what if they do a sequel? They might be
Yeah.
talking about doing a sequel. The name hadn't even come out. And I asked the Discord, I was like, can somebody find me the clip? Can somebody pull up the clip? I said, the best move to make with Joker 2, if you do a Joker 2, is to subvert everyone's expectations and make it a musical. I said that in 2020 before anything came out about them even doing a sequel. That episode is out there somewhere. It's probably easier to find on Spotify. I said it first. I suggested that. And then it happened. Then it
Yeah.
just materialized into thin air. Somebody listened to that episode and said, that's a great idea. We're going to do that. Let's do that. So we're about to get into Joker
Hmm.
Folie Ado. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take a 5 minute break. Hans, do you want to just pull up the website, lowres.org, real
Yeah.
quick? For those of you who are just joining us now, we have more people. We just launched merchandise today, movies, Mass State Lottery, just me. There's a bunch of stuff in the store. We got 4 brand new shirts that are for sale, and then 4 airbrushed streetwear tees that are a collaboration with the talented airbrush artist Young Leche, one of a kind. Once those sell, they are gone for good. We were talking about it at the beginning of the show. There you go. Mass State Lottery, Young Leche. They are available now, lowres.org. You can also buy a poster to Mass State Lottery here in the shop, and those look dope. So I would highly recommend you do that if you're interested in the movie, you like the designs. But the Young Leche shirts are one of a kind. We're also going to do a secret merch drop later tonight of old, like really old day low res Wonder Bread channel stuff that is no longer available. We have some leftovers I found, and we will be putting those out later tonight. So we've got the Wonder Bread World Tour, Forgotten Genres Golf Tourney, employees only, and then the last one here is Everything is Ruined, Low Res Wonder Bread. So thank you guys for listening to this portion of the show. We're going to mark the end of the Joker episode here. Hans, do you have any final thoughts on Todd Phillips' Joker? But stick around. We're doing Joker Folie
Yeah.
Do right up next. Any final thoughts on Joker?
It's great, and I'm surprised at how great it still is a couple of years later.
Absolutely. I can completely agree. I think it's a terrific film. And that has been movies for this week. Thank you for listening. Woo. All right. Now we're in the intermission. This is not going to be featured on Spotify or Apple. So you guys who are hanging out in the chat with us are privy to something real good here. Hans, do you need to take a break to grab a drink or
Ah,
take a piss or
yeah,
anything?
yeah,
Okay.
real quick.
All
Yeah.
right. You do that. And I will hang out here for a second anyway while we do that. Um, Send some super chats if you want me to entertain that, because otherwise I'm going to get up and I'm going to get a refill of delicious Oreo Coca-Cola here. I've already burnt through my chai tea latte. I'm also going to have to change this light up. This light is not going to be looking good in a second. I look very pasty and ill on this camera. Um, I'm going to be reading some of you guys here in the chat, but again, send super chats as well. Thank you again, Kevo, for that in DC, and the other guy I'm forgetting. Sorry. Scam likely. The riot scenes from the first one were vaguely Antifa coded. Yeah, I don't even think vaguely Antifa coded when it came to Joker. That was pretty transparently Antifa coded. And I thought Megalopolis was the same deal with the Shia LaBeouf character. Felt very Antifa to me. And then people later on tell me, actually, he's got like the Nazi logo in his face. All right. I didn't get that. I was just enjoying the movie. I'm just a low IQ viewer. What do I know? Joaquin's singing straight up stinks. Venom Grizz. Yeah, I said that to a friend of mine who watched the movie twice. I said, there was a problem with it, and it was mainly Joaquin singing, but we're going to get into that. All right, Hans, you want to take it from here while I go get a refill?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. Hey everyone. Uh, what's up? I haven't seen the Penguin show. I feel like I hate when these companies do that shit where it's like, well, I don't know how connected that show is going to be to that new Batman movie, but it's the same like Star Wars cool, right? Right, where it's like, oh, we're now gonna release this series about this side character that nobody gives a fuck about. And it's not gonna be connected to anything, but if you want to know backstory of whatever character for this movie, then you have to watch 8 episodes that don't do anything. Same issue that I have with whatever Marvel is doing with like their shows. I haven't. Hawkeye is like my favorite comic book character of all time. Haven't seen that show because they just made Hawkeye and a girl, and I'm just like, that's not. Why would I give a shit about that? Let's see, Kevo, our Hans time. Yep, my second favorite LowRes Wonder Red. Thank you. Unfiltered basics. Tulsa King. Wait, Tulsa King. Oh no, what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of the Polka King. Have you guys seen the Polka King, that Jack Black movie, which I think is one of his better performances in the past 10 years? I was very, very bored with my ex one night, and we saw that on streaming. It was just like, let's just watch fucking Jack Black singing polka. And I was actually surprised as to how not unpleasant that was. So I have not seen the Tulsa King. I think that Tulsa King is the Stallone show, right? I'm all right. That reminds me of that Lilyhammer. She's that show about that guy that refuses to accept that he's bald, so he just wears a bandana on his head or a hairpiece in that show. Tulsa King and Lilyhammer felt like it was what the fuck? Felt like it was just the same show to me. So I don't know. I also feel like Stallone, if it's not like roided up Stallone that's just gonna beat up a minority, then I kind of don't care about seeing Stallone on screen. So maybe that's why I haven't, taken a chance on Tulsa King. What the fuck that is. Yeah, Polka King was great. Thoughts on high top films, DC YouTube. I don't even know. Crunchy Scarf Deluxe. What a name. I don't know what high top films is. I'll ask LowRes when he comes back. He's more of an online person than I am. I kind of just stick to like the same couple of either true crime or uh uh documentaries about like deranged online people that don't have any followings, but that they end up doing like crazy shit. That's like my favorite pastime. Just learning about retards on the internet that I'm never gonna, cross. Um, so I don't know who. I don't even remember the name. High Top Films, DC. What? Yeah, I'll ask Loris when we come back. We are gonna watch Salem's Lot. So Salem's Lot is a movie that we've been talking about for a while. I think since it was announced, mostly because Lores is like a big Stephen King fag. So he's a fan of the first one. I've never seen it. Apparently the second one is really bad. But it did drop on the HBO Max, which is something that I have access to. So we'll be recording a Salem's Lot episode upcoming. Right, Loris?
Yes, well, as the king fag, as you put it, I would love to cover Salem's Lot with somebody like Glenn Rockney of the podcast Rare Candy, which is what we're going to be doing
Yeah.
later this week. Sign up at patreon.com/lowres if you'd like to gain early access to that episode. So we're going to
Yeah.
be doing that. That'll be a fun time.
Gothic. Oh, let me ask you this super chat because I don't know what we're talking about.
We got a
Crunchy's
super
Craft
chat.
Deluxe says thoughts on High Top Films DC YouTube fan film Jason.
I don't know
I don't
what
know
the
what.
hell that is. I don't know anything
Okay,
you just said,
okay,
pal.
good. Okay, because I was
Hold,
like, I don't know.
I'll be right back again. I'm gonna leave for 1 second. I gotta
Okay.
brighten it up in here.
Mhm. Uh, yeah, I read that there's not a lot of blood or violence, even though it's an R-rated movie. So I'm hoping there's a lot of I mean obscene dialogue, I guess, but I'm not hopeful. Just like I'm not hopeful with any type of like modern day horror. One modern day horror movie that I saw recently was The Substance, and that shit was fun. I don't know how horror-y it was, I guess body horror. Um, but but that was fun, especially just
The
seeing
substance. We
Demi.
were supposed to do an
Yeah,
episode on that this week.
we were, and we haven't. So I'm just thinking of horror movies that I've seen lately. That's probably the one that's stuck up the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The substance is very good. We'll wind up covering that soon for October, I would say.
Venom Grizz says, Hans, how do you feel about the Gunnyverse? Is that the DC? Oh, I don't feel any. I'm not interested at all. I think
You mean
I
the
like
Superman with CW level effects and
yeah.
costumes? That'll be
I
very exciting.
I like James Gunn when he was doing PJ porn for comedy or what is it? Not comedy or die. What's funny or die? I don't know if you ever saw those PJ porn shorts. That was good. And I liked his
PJ porn,
Guardians
PJ Porter, mellow. I think you mean PG porn.
PG, you're right. But the Guardians, the first Guardians movie I like. I think it's a big mistake to have someone that's not a Zack Snyder visionary like on top of something like this, and I think it's gonna bomb horrendously after the first or second movie, and they're gonna have to change whatever course they're on right now because nobody's gonna like these James Gunn movies.
Well, why don't we can get into that a little bit when we start talking about Joker Folly Do, which we're going to do right now. If you guys have not yet already, please hit like on the YouTube video because it's going to help other people find this and join us and hang out here. And as a matter of fact, if you want to keep up with the conversation that is happening around Hans and myself, we're two of the biggest players in Hollywood. I'm going to post a link to the Discord right now in the YouTube chat here. Join by clicking this, and you're going to have access to our Discord where there is a bunch of other people who keep up with movies, Mass Day Lottery, conference, everything under the sun,
Hmm.
and you can engage in the conversation. All right, shall we get into Joker
Yeah.
Folly Do?
Hmm.
All right, here we go again. You guys are going to hear the recording in progress, so bear with me. This is Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema. And with me today, he just dropped the soap. It is Hans.
Hello. Hey. Ready to put a smile on your face, part two.
Ready to put a
That's what,
smile on that ass is more like it.
yeah. Uh,
Damn,
can
the
can we
rape
talk?
really, really clouded so much of the conversation around Joker Folie Do, didn't it?
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because it was cops that did it, so it's like a anti-conservative thing? Because
It
did see a
reminded
lot of,
people of George Floyd.
I saw a lot of conservative Twitter people being like, "Fuck this movie. The cops are doing blah blah. The cops this whatever." And it's like, do you
Back the
think?
blue, no matter who.
Yeah, it's like, do you think cops are nice in Arkham prison? I guess, right?
Uh-huh.
So I mean, I don't know. That honestly, like that scene, ah, I because that's the one spoiled thing that I had before I watched it. Like the one spoiler that I saw was that
Joker takes a dick.
Joker takes a bunch of dicks, not just one, right? Or that's what's implied.
Okay, I
Yeah.
guess we're kind of in on the rape
Yeah.
now by talking about it. There's
Yeah,
no going back.
we're getting into the last what 30 minutes of the movie already.
I really wanted to go in order with the film, but I'll tell you what, they do kind of hint at. When I watched it, I didn't take that as a rape. I just took it, oh, they washed him. But then somebody said, but he still has his makeup on after the shower. And I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, he did have his makeup on after the shower. I
What do
guess
you
he
mean
did get fucked. So they also hint at it too, though, early on, because they tell his little twink
Yeah.
boyfriend, hey, the guard said you're good at kissing Joker. And then Joker just straight up gives him a kiss in true Joker
Yeah.
fashion. What a Joker thing to do.
Yeah, I don't honestly, like I felt like it was a little overboard just because he called like if someone calls you fat, I don't think it gives you the right to rape them.
The fat
And that's
guards, and there's only one
yeah.
guard really, or two guards, I guess, who are kind of pudgy.
Yeah, the two main ones, the one with the fat beard that always has a beard because he's got no chin. And then the dumbs, what's his name? Dumsday Gleason, whatever his
No, no, no,
fucking
no, no. Brendan
dumbs
Gleeson.
guard. Brandon Gleason, sure.
Brendan Gleeson, not Dom Hale Gleeson. Different guy.
Who, who's very friendly with him throughout the movie until he calls him fat, and then he's like, you know what? We're gonna rape you.
I'm
It's
gonna
just like,
fuck
what the
you.
fuck?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Hey,
think
you know what's fat? This dick. And then he gives it to him. Like, what? Jesus. All right.
his
Yeah.
character by far is the most interesting in the movie, and his performance is so good. I mean, Brendan Gleeson's always good,
Oh
but I
yeah.
think his
Yep.
character is so interesting because he does seem like a genuine friend to Arthur at times. And there's this moment where Arthur kind of plays with him a little bit by giving him a joke, and he doesn't
No,
even
he
really big
taps
shot him, but he
he
pats him on the
tap
back, and Brendan
and
Gleeson
then
fucking wails on his back in return to like let him to know, no, know your place. You are the prisoner. I am the prison guard. We're not buddies. You adhere to me. You comply to me.
yeah.
And it's an interesting scene, especially since we have these moments, and you never get the sense from the guards that they're bad guys until all of that starts to happen. They never seem like they're out of order. They never seem like they would abuse their position. They're just kind of working with these crazy people. It's not Nurse Ratchet. It's
Yeah.
just these guys who are working at Arkham.
Yeah, and they do have kind of like a friendly relationship with them where they just like joke around and like give him shit, right? So when it comes to that scene, it does feel like a weird escalation that happens because I guess they get humiliated on TV, but at the same time, I don't know if that's the I don't know if that's where I would put the rape in the movie in the movie, you know. After that, I feel like you kind of need a little bit more, maybe, because so the this Gleason character, it is implied throughout the movie that he's probably the nicest one to the Arthur Fleck character, right? Even though
Mhm.
we have that scene which is very jarring because it's right after I think he gives him a cigarette because he made him laugh with a joke, but then once Arthur gets a little too comfortable, he reminds him by like smacking him really hard in the back
That's right.
but but I don't think there was anything before the rape that
No,
tell
it's just the moment that I said before where he has that interaction with his twink friend in the prison
yeah,
that says the guards say you're good at kissing. Why can we kiss?
but
Can you
that's
give me a
also
kiss, Arthur?
but I feel like that one's also played like a joke, just like
Yeah.
every other interaction that the guards have with them. Like I feel like, especially there's a scene where this what's his name again? Gleason, what
Brendan
Gleason?
Gleeson.
Brandon Gleason character says like you don't know how hard it is to bring some joy into this fucking place, right? Something along those lines, which tells me that yeah, it is a miserable existence, but they kind of play jokes on the inmates just mostly for like their own mental, I guess, well-being or whatever. But
Hmm.
at no point it feels like they're actually a threat to Arthur. And I feel like they play on like the fame a little bit when it comes to like what he gets away with. Uh, there's something to do with the whole I don't even want to get into this already, but like the whole singing and like the musical aspect to it I like the fact that we don't know if it's actually happening or not, but I don't like that it was an element that was added to it because I kind of feel like it takes away from the main story.
Okay.
And
Let's
yeah,
pause right there because there's other
yeah.
things that I think we have to talk about regarding Joker Folie. Do we kind
Mm.
of got, we went off at the races with the
Yeah.
rape, and then we're burning through the entire movie. I think there's more to
Okay.
talk about than just that, and I think the thing we should be leading with here is the box office performance of the movie is not
Okay.
impressing. So with Joker, that movie was made for $50 million. It grossed over $1 billion at the box office. It was a certified hit. It was screened at the White House by President Trump the year it came out. It was this massive talking point. And this movie had its trailer drop about what, early summer to no fanfare at all. We talked about it and we were kind of like, eh. I
Mhm.
mean, it'll probably be good, but am I excited for it? Not really.
No.
And of course, I have to lead this show with what I ended the last episode with, which is I called this exactly. I said, if you're going to do the Joker sequel, you better do it as something that is completely unlike that first movie. Because if you even try, if you do what you did with the Hangover movies, Todd, you're going to fail. You're going to fall right on your face and you're going to burn away any credit that you earned for yourself with that Joker movie. Make it a musical. I said that in 2020 before they even announced the sequel was in pre-production. Make it a musical. And then they made it a musical. And so here we are. Joker Folie Adieu. And the movie is very different from that first Joker movie in most ways. And it honestly hardly feels like a Joker movie. I think this film
Yeah.
follows in the same footsteps as a number of other Warner Brothers movies that have unnecessary sequels.
You
In
got the extra
fact,
you got the exorcism of Emily Rose with Joker.
actually, here's the thing that this movie reminded me of that Todd Phillips pulled the trigger on. When they were coming up with an idea for a sequel to The Exorcist back in 1973, they were thinking, what can we really even do that could continue the story here? The idea was we're going to look back at what happened in The Exorcist and have a trial. We're going to do that. We're going to have a detective who's investigating what happened in that first Exorcist movie, and you're going to see things play out from different points of view. And Todd Phillips kind of does that with this movie. And there's elements of this movie that remind me of Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Like he was very aware of what he was doing with this sequel. There's no way that he didn't know we're taking a left field swing on this one because we're not going to please anyone regardless. It's not going to be Joker, so fuck it. Let's just try something totally different and let it exist on its own. And it does that. I think it successfully did that. Whether or not that's a good movie, we're going to get into. But I'll tell you, I love the Joker film from 2019, and I had very little enthusiasm going into this movie because
Yeah.
it just wasn't on my mind. Megalopolis was on my mind. Mass State Lottery coming later this year, that's certainly on my mind. Challengers was on my mind. But the time for a Joker sequel kind of came and went, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So I was just like, all right, I know it's coming. Do I care? Not that much. Not really that much. But I still went opening night. I went Thursday night. I saw it in RPX. And from the opening, where you get this 1940 style Warner Brothers cartoon, and I guess Nick Cave does the voice of the Joker during this cartoon, I sat
Okay.
down and I was like, oh, I kind of like where we're starting. This is weird and different, and it feels vintage in that way that they captured so well in that first movie. Okay, brings me back to the Warner Brothers ball cap Looney Tunes advert at the beginning of the Batman 1989 VHS tape. I like that. Then we get into the movie and we have a good 20 or 30 minutes where there's no music at all in terms
Yeah.
of musical. You obviously have the score, you have pop songs that are played, but we don't get into any musical numbers just yet. And during that 15 minutes or so, I was like, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad they did this. I'm happy to be here. and then the musical nature of it starts. And I didn't mind that. I was never not on board with it being a musical. But by the end of the movie, I started to feel different than how I felt when that occurred to me. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy they did this. I'm glad we can revisit this world. I started to feel different, but we're going to get to that.
Hmm.
What were your thoughts at the beginning of the film when you sat down to watch this in the movie theater?
Um, when the song started, I was like, oh no, I forgot that this was the musical. I was like, oh no, I wonder where they're gonna take this. Because I was really curious as to what direction the movie was gonna take. Because like you said, for the first 30, 45 minutes, there's no singing. It's just like a straight up movie. And then, which is one of the things that bother me the most about this movie, is the Lady Gaga character with her stupid lips. Her fucking stupid lips took me out of the movie every time she was on screen because that's not what a 1970s mouth looks like. Why are you so swollen, bitch? So like the whole movie, every time she would show up, I'd just be like, yeah, it just looks like you just got fucking punched in the mouth, but you weren't. I want to hear the story when you were punched in the mouth for being a fucking retard. So like that bit that was like the first thing that took me out of like the immersion of it, just because she looks so weird
Modern.
with her.
I
Yeah,
think she looks modern with her. I was thinking that with her highlights. I was like, nobody in nine what so the
yeah.
first Joker movie took place in what, 81? If I'm
Mhm.
remembering the marquee outside of the theater where Bruce Wayne's parents are gunned down, it has blowout. Blowout is 1981. I guess we're going ahead 5 years.
Yeah,
So
I
he's just been
guess.
hanging out in Arkham for 5 years awaiting trial. Gotham looks a little more modern. It looks a little more. I was like, okay, well, I guess they elected
Hmm.
some good politicians, and now the city looks a bit healthier.
Yeah.
And the technology is still 1980s, but they didn't really go, they eased up on the gas, I think, when it came to making it feel so set in the early 80s. Aside from music and wardrobe choices and technology, they don't really put in a whole lot of effort to make you feel like, okay, this is 1984,
No.
1985, 1986, which is fine. I don't mind that Gotham changes with the two films. I think it's important to let the city have its own personality movie to movie. If you watch the Dark Knight movies, Gotham City looks very different in Batman Begins than how it looks in The Dark Knight. And it certainly looks different when you go from Batman 89 over to Batman Returns,
Yeah.
or certainly Batman Forever. So I don't mind that aspect. But you were not on board with the same. You're not a fan of musicals in general.
I don't like musicals. They always take me out because I feel like whenever there's like a scene that's coming that's necessary or important and everyone's just starts singing, it takes me out completely. Now, when it comes to this movie, I think one good thing about the musical aspect of it is that we never really know if it's actually happening or not. And I wish the movie did a little bit more of that.
Mhm.
Because I think the exploring his psyche and like his mental state, it's a more interesting thing than romance that is never really there. I don't feel like that romance between them two ever feels like it's a thing other than what he's imagining. Which I mean, you can do that. That's fine. But then when one of the biggest elements of the movie is this relationship that is very shallow and like we don't really know if it's actually happening or not until she l- leaves in the those steps. I kind of I don't know. I kind of wish that they did something different with that relationship. I know that Todd Phillips was trying to do like a different Joker than what you expect, and I don't think there's ever been a comic book Joker that follows this path so fair. I mean that whatever you're using an existing character like Harley Quinn, but that character is not really similar to what we know from that character. You can do that. That's fine.
By the way,
I
my
just don't.
least favorite moment of the movie is when Steve Coogan presents the newspaper and says her
Yeah.
name is Harleen Quinzel. You could
Yeah.
have just kept calling her Lee. I would have been
Yeah,
fine with that. And honestly, I'm not a fan of Harley Quinn as a character in
I
general.
don't. No.
My feeling is okay, Joker really shouldn't have I don't mind the idea in theory that he would have a groupie, I guess, that he would manipulate, right? But whatever. I'm still just not a fan. That's not for me. I much prefer Bruno as Joker's one true love, the Nazi transvestite with swastikas on the
Yeah,
tits. But
of
that's
course.
besides the point, of course. Yeah.
Well, that one actually has a backstory that you can maybe explore, as opposed to Lady Gaga here, where her backstory was, "Oh, are you actually lying to me and your parents are rich?" Yeah. Okay. That's it.
But
Like that's
listen,
her.
that is such a girl move to
Yeah.
completely lie about herself and have wealthy parents and live on the Upper West Side. That's exactly who this Lady Gaga version of Harley
Yeah.
Quinn. That's what she would do because that's so many girls in Dime Square.
Okay. Fair. I'm not familiar with that environment, but I understand that. I feel like the movie relies too much on that relationship, but that relationship is never really established as anything real because, at least to me, like whenever a musical element came into that story, I wasn't sure if it was just him imagining what was happening or if it was actually happening because you have the scenes where she just starts singing in like their 5 minutes when they're talking to each other in front of that glass, right? Or when they're trying to escape, but not really trying to escape. And then there's like a whole song there or whatever. So I don't think the movie is clear enough when it comes to what part is actually happening and what part is Arthur just imagining as a musical. Same, I don't like the fact that Arthur fucks, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but the fact that he fucks in this movie, I was very uncomfortable and very like,
Oh,
because
I see how it is. It's okay for him to get fucked, but if he wants
yes,
to fuck,
yeah,
that's where you draw
wait,
the line.
well, because and I think it's because I got the rape part spoiled. So when that happened, I was like, okay, so they're making him a sexual being, which he wasn't before. And then you have these 5 seconds where he comes inside this woman. Again, we don't know if he actually comes inside her or not. At the same time, how sad is it that your fantasy makes you come in 5 seconds, right? But that's what's the point. Because then this Harley Quinn that I think throughout the movie it's kind of kind of we don't know exactly if she's there or if the idea of her is what is pulling him through because so when they fuck she says, "Oh, the guards let me in," or whatever, which makes sense if she's rich, I guess. She would have access to that, but then it doesn't really make sense with the Arkham prison around him and how, even though he has a couple of friends in there, like it doesn't make sense that anyone would just let this girl in so that he can fuck her. So I thought, okay, so he's imagining this, right? But then at the same time, it's like that she's pregnant element comes back later when she convinces him that she cares for him because she's pregnant. And then at the end, she's like, "Oh no, that it was all a joke. I'm not actually pregnant."
Well, did she
So
say, hold on, did she say she wasn't actually I don't remember that. I know it doesn't come up again and there's no resolve to that, but I don't remember her saying I wasn't pregnant. I believe that relationship just ends on such a like a dumb empty note of her not being interested anymore because of the Joker persona being pushed away by Arthur. I don't think she ever says she's not pregnant.
no, but he says we're having a baby, and she's like, "No, we're not." Not that that's not the line, but she says like, "No, like that's not a thing." Uh, when they're in the steps and that, when she cut her hair to look all emo and shit. But I just I wish this relationship between them two actually ma I don't want to say actually mattered because in the context of the movie it does, but it never really felt like it should. Like it never really felt deep enough. It never really felt like what the Harley character is supposed to be. I believe the character was created for the animated series, if I'm not mistaken, and
That's
her
right.
character is supposed to be obsessed with Joker, right? She's like kind of nuts, but she idolizes this guy and she's obsessed with him. And Joker doesn't have much to do with her. He doesn't really care. She's just like a follower, but he keeps her around. At least that's what I know from their relationship. In
Well,
this
yeah,
movie,
obviously it winds up evolving. There's that Mad Love comic book that Paul Dini or whoever did that explores
uh,
that origin of the romance. But my understanding for the longest time anyway was that yeah, she was just like a hole for him to
yeah.
keep around, and that was supposed to be it. And then she obviously wound up having a life of her own with Suicide Squad, and people do their fan shipping of Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, which they sort of egged on with the later version of the animated series where they're roommates. You know, they're just roommates that live together for 30 years, best
Boy,
friends.
okay. I don't know nothing about that, but yeah, I think this movie relies too much on that relationship. But at no point of the movie it actually feels like there's a relationship there. Like there's a very Sonny and Cher type of thing happening there with like those shows that they put on. But at the same time, like even that in that show where they're having like this what do you call it? Like a variety show. You have
Yeah.
the scene where she shoots him, right? So when he starts little by little realizing that she's not what he thought it was, and I feel like the movie spends a lot of time focused on him and that I guess hope he has to being in love with this person. And I honestly don't feel like that's a strong enough element to carry the movie. Uh and when it ends or by the end of it when they have that scene in the stairs, I just don't think that it had the impact that that scene was supposed to have just because I didn't care for the relationship at that point. Like I was already just kind of like, well, you left and then the explosion happens and he survived and he's still a dumbass that's like, oh, I'm in love with this girl, let me go look for her, but she just didn't care. And that switch from her from being like, I'm gonna fucking paint my face and look ridiculous so that I can look like you or like a supporter of you in the case, and then all of a sudden she's just completely turned off by him just
Mhm.
because he, I guess, renounces the Joker character after he gets fucked in the butt a couple of times. I don't know. It felt very shallow. It felt very there's not enough there for this story, you know? But unfortunately that happens like 2 hours and 20 minutes in. So it's kind of like, well, if you don't care for this story, this is what we're doing. So uh try to care, I guess, for for them. I don't know. Like that was a big disconnection that I had with it. Her being like, "Oh, did you know that I actually purchased your old house where you were abused and shit?" And he said like, "Yeah, I don't like that or I don't want that." Again, it's just like a huge disconnection between the Harley Quinn character and what that character is quote unquote supposed to be. Again, back to, let's say this is Todd Phillips's Joker. So
Uh-huh.
let's forget about any other Harley Quinn or any backstory that those Harley Quinn characters might have, or even the Joker might have. Fine. Let's say that this Harley Quinn, her parent, her dad is the one that's a doctor and she's rich and she's just fooling this guy. Fine. But there's nothing in that relationship that feels real or true enough for us to give a fuck by the end when he tries to keep it going and then she's just like, no, it just, there's like not much there, I feel like.
No, no, there isn't. And it's a very discipline. I mean, honestly, this is my biggest problem with the movie in general is he just chose to tank everything. The original Joker movie is you're following this loser character and
Yep.
it's a slow build up to this big momentous moment that's kind of a small moment, which is blowing Murray Franklin's head apart.
Yeah.
And then You have chaos that comes about as a result of that being on live television. This movie follows a similar trajectory where we're leading somewhere. Now, the building of that momentum is not quite the same as 2019, where you could feel it. There was an energy. He's just going to court. He's going prison, court, hanging out with Lady Gaga a little bit, prison, van, court, prison, van, court. And that's fine. I don't mind that. Small stakes, small story. I like that approach for a sequel where you know you're not going to win no matter what. But when we do start to coalesce to some kind of outcome for this character, Todd Phillips does the exact opposite of what he did with that first movie, which was now you're going to see this character get made. Now you're
Yeah.
going to see this character blow the top off and become what his destiny has shapened him to be. Here, what you get is a man falling apart, falling flat on his face in the least satisfying way imaginable. It made me start to dislike the movie. And when I walked out of the film, I felt wholly disappointed by where it went. I could still distinguish that 3/4 of the movie, they had me. I liked it. The ending, I think, was a big flop and a poor decision. Maybe there's some editing fuckery here because I would have to imagine that the man who made Joker and having all the same parties involved would understand that at least the relationship with Lee is so inconclusive and disappointing. And that's a little thing. That's a little thing to solve as a screenwriter is tie it up in some fashion. He got all right. So you blow the courtroom apart, and there was a moment where you could have made Harvey Dent Two-Face, but they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to touch that. He's just got little cuts on his face. That's it.
Oh, but by the way, that Harvey Dent fucking sucks. I fucking hated that Harvey Dent. It bothered me every time he was on the screen. And I think it's because it reminded me of like a 16-year-old pretending to be an adult. And I fucking hated that. It took me out of it, didn't fit the rest of the world that was around him. Because the whole time he was on screen, he was always just kind of like
Can you pull
fixing
this
his
guy
suit.
up? You know who he reminded me of is James O'Keefe, Project Veritas. That's who I
Okay.
kept seeing anytime Harvey Dent came on screen is Project Veritas taking Arthur Fleck to court. I didn't mind him as much. I'll be honest with you. I don't have the same complaint, but he's definitely a little rascal, a little review bra-y, this Harvey Dent.
Yeah,
But
it
let me,
bothered me.
as you pull that up, let me just finish my point here. Honestly, he does not even really look like James O'Keefe. I don't know why I determined that in my head. They blow the courtroom apart after this whole To Kill a Mockingbird style performance from Joaquin, where he's doing a Southern drawl. He sounds like Tommy Lee Jones. He has his Joker moment in court where he is talking to Gary Puddles, the little guy who he let
Yeah.
go from his apartment. And it's like the boulder starts to go in the right direction where you have him starting to take on the Joker persona again, and you have Dancing in the Moonlight playing as he's in the van and he's smiling and he's having a good time. But he called the guards fat. His fatal flaw, he called the guards fat. And then we get to the rape. Then we get to the rape. And then he is brought down a peg. They really showed him who he was. And he goes to court the next time and goes, "Yeah, I don't really have anything here. I'm sorry. I killed my mom and
Yeah.
I don't know what to do." And Lee is so disappointed by this. Her hero has let her down.
Yeah.
And so she's no longer a groupie.
He
The
can't
courtroom,
see. Yeah.
and I thought the courtroom being blown up was going to be her again because we've
Yeah.
seen now twice before she's a pyromaniac. She will do that sort of thing to get out of the situation.
But for no
And so,
reason, too. Like when there's no stakes, like they're watching a movie and she just sets the place on fire because she wants to set the place on fire.
because she's a brat, she's just a
Yeah.
rich brat
Yeah.
who signed herself in to kill it, not To Kill a Mockingbird, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest style, like all those guys in there. Jack Nicholson finds out, oh, they're all voluntarily here. She
Yeah.
did that, I guess, to get to know Arthur, right? I don't know. I assume, all right, well, she blew up the courtroom. Nah, it's just one of his guys. This
Well,
is
we don't
such
know.
sloppy
We don't
third act filmmaking and
we don't know
screenwriting.
we don't know who it is though. We never know who blows it up, right? We just know it just blows up and then he leaves and a guy that's dressed like the Joker is like, "Oh, you're Joker." So he saves him. But at no point we know what goes on. At no point we know who blew up the place other than I think it's the radio that says that someone a car bomb on the house of whatever the fuck it's called, but I don't think that at any point it's clear as to who does it. It's just it's chaos that he's causing, and chaos is rescuing him, and that's it, right?
Yes, yes, and I sorry, I just got sidetracked here because our dear pal McKinta, sorry pal,
What?
did sketches of us over on X. Did you see
Oh
this?
shit! No, I
You
didn't.
want to pull this up real quick? He just did this, I guess, during the live show here. Why don't we take a look
No, sick.
at
I love that.
what he has drawn of us? Since we were just promoting for those of you joining us live on YouTube, we're doing this as a live show as well as a normal episode for Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We were showing the new merch shop, which you can visit at lowres.org. Young Leche did an illustration, an airbrush streetwear tee from Mass State Lottery. So here's yourself and myself.
That's great.
Macanita decided to do a much more handsome version of you and I, although we both look a little dopey too.
Yeah.
You know, couple of studs here. So thank you for that. Well, that's the kind of stuff we love. If you want to do fan art, by all means, we highly encourage that. That is awesome. So thank you for doing that. Let's just rewind a little bit here. I'm sorry we lost our place when it came to Joker Folie Deux.
The
The courtroom
bomb.
sequence, the bomb.
Yes. Mhm.
Same thing happens in Joker, but it's a car crash. Somebody crashes
Mhm.
the car into the police wagon to get Arthur out before he can be arrested. But then he's arrested. And then we cut to prison where he kills the female orderly or prison psychiatrist who's talking to
R-
him, interviewing him.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's another thing where we don't know if he actually did or not, right? Like I feel like that's the open ending that the first movie has. And then he's never mentioned in the second one as one of the murders that he did. So I think that's probably a callback to that didn't actually happen and you believed it. That's how I saw it. Because when on the second one, I think they only mentioned the this five killings and then his mom that he mentions afterwards. So that psychologist or whatever is never mentioned. So I wonder if that has more to do with, well, he just imagined this, because it was never, brought up again.
Mhm. Somebody here in the chat says, this is Andy. The guy that found him said they made the bomb, but bigger than planned. That's, I guess, possible. Maybe it went over my head because he was, they had the Call of Duty effect where it's just the ears ringing, so you can't make out what people
Mhm.
are saying as well. That's possible. If that's the case, all right, fine. Fair enough. I just also posted a link in the live chat right now for those of you who want to join us in the Discord and discuss movies, Mass State Lottery, everything else. Hang out there in the meantime. It's also where you're going to find announcements for our live shows before they come up, like this one, because we haven't done one in a while. The last one was Lady Ballers, and that was back in November or December of last year, I believe. It's been a while since we did one of these live shows.
Shitty movie.
Yeah, great movie from the Daily. They had one of the most successful films of the year. Am I racist? I almost went to go see this movie like 7 times and then decided not to.
Hmm. You decide to pay for it online instead?
No, it's not even online yet.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know
well,
how that movie is. I've heard it's actually pretty good, pretty funny.
well,
We'll
it's
find out.
better for them to do documentaries because every time they do scripted shit, it's just garbage. So hey, let's just keep doing this. The left triggering documentaries, I guess.
Sure. I think that's going to work better than their westerns until they hire you and I to handle
Yeah,
them.
or the comedies.
You want to
Because
direct Reagan too?
I would like to direct Lady Ballers too if they let me write it.
Yo, the Lady Ballers movie that you and I would make.
Yep.
let me tell you, that would actually be good. This would be the rare sequel that makes everyone forget about the original. It would be the Star
I
Trek
know.
2 of Lady Baller
Yeah,
films.
because we're not gonna be like, oh, it's all about showing them that we're right, and instead it's just gonna be making fun of
It's not even gonna
all
be
that.
Lady Ballers. It's
Yeah.
just gonna be a team full of white guys in blackface.
Yep. It's I mean, it's not lady ballers, just ballers. Just
Ballers with a Z. It's the prequel to Lady
yeah.
Ballers. It's Ballers,
Yeah. Yeah.
Ballas.
So
So
so so give us that Jeremy Razors. We'll do a lady ballers too. What's his name? Jeremy. I don't know what his last
I
name
think it's
is.
Jeremy
Yeah.
Johns, Jeremy Saulnier.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Hey, I'm a lifeguard. Just think about that.
Yeah.
Joker
Uh,
Folie, do you know, I was very surprised that you gave this movie 3 stars on your letterbox. I thought for sure Hans is walking out of this movie full of hate.
Listen, I thought it was a great choice to keep the same cinematographer because the movie, it's beautiful. Like, it's a beautifully shot movie. I honestly believe
Yeah.
that. All the musicals, as much as I don't like musicals, all the musical numbers were shot really nicely. So as a movie, it looks and it feels like a movie. So that for me, a couple of stars from just that. I like the fact that he went completely different to what the first movie was. So I give him props for that. But that's why it says a three, I think, just because
Mhm.
when it comes to the script, I didn't care for it. I don't like musicals, and I feel like the way that the music is implemented here, it's kind of annoying at times. We're just kind of like, oh fuck, we're going into another song again, even though we know that nothing's gonna happen between these two people. So I wish that he had used this musical element maybe a little bit more creative and in a more experimental way. I would have liked, where we don't know for sure if it's actually happening, as opposed to like if it was a little bit more clear that this was all in his head and the reason why all this music and all this shit's happening in his head, as opposed to what we get, which is, well, if this is happening in his head, or do we have the Lee character actually acknowledging the fact that it's actually happening, but we don't know if it is or not. So
Mhm.
that gray, whatever you call it there, like that not concrete knowing if it's actually happening or not, kind of takes it out for me. And I also don't think that the story on the second one is as interesting as the first one. What,
It
what,
doesn't go anywhere. I mean, that's the
well,
biggest problem that I have with it
yeah,
is you were going somewhere with the story, and I think the most
yeah,
interesting version of the sequel would have still allowed that character to grow into this
yeah,
Joker
something.
persona.
Make him change in any type of way that's not just I changed because I was raped, which is what happens, right? There's not really much of a change on this character. He even gets some puss, and that doesn't really change him. So I honestly feel like the musical elements of this kind of mask the fact that the script and the story, it's lacking a lot for this movie. And I kind of don't like the fact that there's a gimmick for the movie where it's like, well, we have the musical numbers on top of this to like explain, I guess, what's going on. But I think the story that you're trying to say with a sequel should be something other than, hey, remember when this happened on the first one? So I guess that's why, like, my 3 stars end as like at like, this feels like a real movie,
Mhm.
but then it doesn't go further than that, just because I have so many issues with mostly the script and where the story goes, because it doesn't feel like it's worth 2.5 hours of a movie, where we end
I
up.
agree with that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think there's something very interesting here with how Todd Phillips chose to conduct the sequel and veer farther away from all the Batman lore. And yet, I don't think essentially the same thing that you said, I don't think it really comes together into something that is workable here. One thing I did pick up on, maybe this is a bit of a callback, I'm not so certain, is he did reference one particular Batman movie here. And I just linked it to you over on Facebook. We have a clip here.
Oh,
If you can start at the 12 minutes and 20-second mark, people will know what I'm talking about. But when it comes to Joker Folie Ado, I think all the creative flourishes are admirable. He's really taken a big swing and he knows it's going to fail. He probably knew it was going to flop. I think Warner Brothers certainly knew it was going to flop, which is why you got so little marketing of this movie. Hans, are you pulling up the Batman
yep.
film that Todd Phillips here is referencing?
Mhm.
So this is a
12,
movie that
you
I
said
first
12
caught.
minutes and 12 minutes and
Yeah,
what?
12 minutes and 20 seconds.
Okay.
So it happens pretty early on in the movie. I'll say this. It's very similar to Joker, Folie Ado. It is a direct callback,
Yep.
to that. If you want to just
Mhm.
screen share, we'll take a look at that. We'll play the clip. I don't think we'll get flagged, right? It's on
I
YouTube.
mean, yeah.
Okay, so here we have The Death of Batman, and this is from 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
This was a very interesting film. Some man sent me a DVD of this in the mail for free when I was a
Wasn't
child.
it wasn't it a VHS? Oh no, it was a DVD.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was a DVD. Look at 18 years ago, this was uploaded. So just hit play here. We'll take a look.
Gotham Woman magazine has released its sexiest men of the year list. Topping this year's list of Gotham's sexiest men is Batman, who publisher Ann Smith called the ultimate man.
That's right, Amber. Batman is this year's winner because he possesses all the
Now,
qualities
you
one
notice
looks
the,
for in
the
a
heavy
man.
breathing,
He's
the look on
tall,
Batman's
dark,
face, his
handsome,
teeth.
has an awesome
Ah,
body,
he's saying
is
to himself.
mysterious yet with a
Is that
dangerous
relief
edge.
or is that pain?
He's the hero that every woman dreams of coming to their
Now,
rescue.
there's
He's
a
the ultimate
dastardly
man.
villain with his
What
pants
makes
down
him
in the
Others
top
topping
square
this
here.
year's list include billionaire Bruce Wayne, Brad Pitt,
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So that's the death of Batman, ladies and gentlemen. And then it gets a little darker. He's on heroin and everything, and I think he kills himself at the end because he let his rapist die.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that he's held there being raped for like a week to the point where he grows a beard. It's just like you've been raped for so many days. Where now you're Batman with a beard. You're still getting, your ass played with by this person, but
It's such a deep
yeah.
cut for Todd Phillips to call back to
Yeah.
with Arthur. I was really surprised. I was like, wow, he knows his stuff.
Todd
So
Phillips watched CBTV 3 years ago. That's weird.
honestly, let's think about it. He took my musical idea. That was around the same time we watched Death of Batman. So I
Oh
think we're
man.
onto something.
Todd Todd Phillips was watching our Twitch streams during COVID. That's great. So he's seen me drunker than anyone else has seen. I feel like, hey Todd.
Hey Todd, let's help you direct things for Joker 3 here. Where can the
Yeah.
story go? Do you believe Arthur's dead? Everyone see so here, all right, here's what actually really pissed me off the most with Joker
Yeah.
Folie Ado is they entertained and indulged the stupid fans out there that go, maybe he's not the real Joker. He's the inspiration for the Joker. It's like, fuck you. What is this movie then? Why is he with Harley Quinn then? Why do I give a fuck about any of this? I don't know. Enough. What if Batman was actually not the real Batman? What if he inspired the real You fucking faggot. Enough
Yeah.
of this shit. It's so childish. It's action figure talk. It's action figure talk. What if this Joker's the real Joker, but the animated series Joker was inspired by? You're an adult
Yeah.
person. This is a movie accepted on its own terms or fuck off. But he leaned into that. He
Yeah.
indulged that because the guy who, sorry for everybody who hasn't seen Joker, who's listening to this live, the guy who, and maybe he doesn't really kill Arthur because Arthur's a delusional guy, but the guy who kills Arthur at the end, who's this
Yeah.
creepy dude who's hanging out in the background, watching him, laughing, grinning, he cuts a big smile into his face. And now they're saying, well, I guess that's the Heath Ledger Joker. So it comes back around to the Dark Knight.
What?
Oh, really?
Wait,
That's
what do you
interesting.
mean? Because he got what? He doesn't get his mouth
Arthur
fucked
gets,
up?
yeah, Arthur gets
No.
stabbed to death, and then
Yeah.
off camera, you can see him start to carve the smile into his cheeks with the same knife.
What
I'm
the
blowing
fuck? I did
Hans's
not.
mind right now. This
I
is a
did.
prequel.
I did not see that at all. I just saw him slowly die as the guy in the background kind of seemed like he was masturbating or something after he died.
You know,
I did not. I didn't see
the,
that part at
the
all. Are you making that
masturbation
up?
noises were actually just smart schoolboy nine noises. He was going
Yeah.
with his
Yeah.
lips, it was Heath Ledger.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I honestly saw that coming, and I hate that I saw it coming when he gets called out. I remember that as soon as he gets called because he has a visitor, I was like out loud, I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna kill him. And
they're
then
gonna kill him.
that creepy guy who appears on screen just a couple of times, but the couple of times that he appears on screen, he's like interested into something that has to do with Arthur, but as soon as like the caretaker, I guess, walked past or walked away from him, and then he got called back, that was like, oh, they're gonna fucking kill him like this? Like that sucks. And I kind of don't like the fact that they did that. Especially even though it kind of feels like a very Omar from The Wire moment where it's like, well, you're in this environment, so you're gonna get killed by the person that you least expect. Um, I don't like that they did it this way because he was fooled by a joke, which is his thing, right? So he didn't see the joke coming, and then he got stabbed because he didn't see the joke coming. And to me, it kind of just felt like a, I don't know, like a weird pull out of this character. It was just like, I don't know how to get
You
rid
know who
of
didn't
him
pull out was Brendan Gleeson.
or him. Or him on Lady Gaga for those 5 seconds. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like that ending was just kind of like, all right, we're not gonna do a third one, so gotta figure out a way to killing him, and that was just very unsatisfying. Just very, oh, I
Here's what I
guess,
wanted. Here's really
yeah,
what I wanted. This is what I would have preferred as the ending of this film series. Have a really unfit, lanky, malnourished, creepy school shooter, Batman, 17 years old, 18 years old, however old he would have been, um, showing up to the prison and just doing a fucking Jack Ruby situation. Have him kill him. Have him wear like a weird, just like costume, like a Times Square Batman. Have him show up and just kill him. So then you get your Batman, your Joker confrontation. If you're going to kill him, do that. Meet it at its most logical conclusion.
yeah,
Don't neglect it completely and say, now here's the thing. I don't want to get too caught up in what the commentary around this movie is until we're done analyzing every aspect of it, because there's a lot to unpack with just that, right?
yeah. It's the worst. I think it's the worst part of this movie, that the commentary around it. But go
So,
ahead.
there's been speculation that this movie was intended to be a fuck you to the fans of the first one, that Todd Phillips didn't like that the Joker movie from 2019 had gotten this young male energized fandom feeling electric and passionate about a movie and rambunctious and wanting to add a little chaos to things. There's this narrative that's going around that that's the case, and that's what this movie is a response to. Is actually, you don't quite understand the Joker character. You're not supposed to endorse what he's doing. You should feel happy for him that he gets his act together and realizes he's been doing wrong the whole time. But what do we take away once he stops doing wrong? What happens there? He loses the love of his life and he gets shanked. He gets killed. As soon as he drops the persona, he's punished for it. He's certainly not rewarded. It clearly was not the smart move. It was not the right move for survival. And he was already looking at a probable death sentence. But with his, fanatics out there, it's not crazy to imagine that he could have been broken out again, rescued again. So what is Todd Phillips getting at? Is that an element? Is that actually an element that he's unhappy with the fandom that was generated from that Joker movie? I have to tell you, I am skeptical that that's the case.
Yeah.
I don't think that was as much of a thing as people are liking to paint it out to be. There's been this critical drinker. I saw Asmongold. Who the fuck is this boring guy who just responds like, yeah, no, they didn't. Yeah.
Cool.
To every, like, he watches a person stream and then fucking responds in like the most limited manner. You dullard. I watched that guy reviewing Critical Drinker's review of Joker Folie Deux, and I was just getting annoyed. I was getting pissed off. But the overwhelming sentiment from that type of person is the musical aspect is a fuck you. The opting to not go in the Batman-y direction is a fuck you, and the ending is certainly a fuck you.
Okay. Can we acknowledge the fact that yeah, it's Hollywood. So of course, if you're a comic book dork that wants your comic book character to be as close to the comic book in a Hollywood movie, Hollywood's just gonna say fuck you, and that's what they did because they're never gonna do that for you. Now, and the reason why I posted that comment yesterday that I think was misconstrued by Mumkey Jones when I said that that Joker had turned into like this literally me character by a lot of people where they feel identified with this character. And I don't understand why, because he's not supposed to win. Like there's nothing about this world that's set up for him to win anything. So in the first movie, let's say he wins by the end, right? Because he creates chaos and he inspires a bunch of people, and there's a kind of a movement behind him. Even though if there was that much of a movement behind them, then he wouldn't be in jail for the second movie, right? If you think about it.
Well, they would have
So,
put him in a more maximum security prison, even
right.
if he was crazy. He would be in a different facility than Arkham.
Yeah, and this Arkham, like it wouldn't be as loose and as friendly as this is portrayed, right?
Oh, he's a very friendly Arkham.
It is until it's not. But especially if you know about like what Arkham is supposed to be on like other media, I feel like this was very tame compared to that. But I don't like the fact that and one of the reviews that I found on Google that I actually wanted to bring up because I thought it was so funny from this African guy that obviously thought that this Joker was something that he was supposed to relate to. And it's crazy to me that, okay, I understand that people have like comic book brains, and that's fine. But the Joker character, at no point in the movie, he's a hero. At no point in the movie, he gets away with what he does because, again, he gets arrested and the ending scene of the movie is him behind walls in this mental institution, right? So it's not like he wins. I guess he gets away by not going to prison. But like this narrative around this movie where it's like, well, you obviously hate the character, you obviously hate the following that it created, and it's just like, why are you looking at this agent of chaos and relating your life to it? And from this review, okay, let me pull it up. So in this review, as you can see over here, here it is. So it says, Todd Phillips is the one living in a fantasy. The reason he nurtured the Joker in his second movie is because Todd Phillips is an elite. First Joker movie, he purposely creates a character trying to push the idea that if you, the average person who probably gets abused and run through by those more higher up in society, stand up to yourself, then you are the problem. It does well because everyone can relate to the average guy finally not putting up. Anyway, so like this guy is pretty much saying that this movie fails because the Joker doesn't win, and the Joker looks dumb because he comes in 5 seconds. Literally,
They get very caught up on the coming in 5 seconds part
I
for
know.
Arthur's trajectory here.
I know. It's like, who hasn't done that in their life? Am I right, chat? But I just feel like the narrative around this movie has more to do with how bad the movie actually is, because honestly, sure, like I'm not even going to pretend like I was disappointed when I was walking out of the movie because I thought I would get more from a 2 hour 20-minute movie than what I ended up getting. But at the same time, I think I didn't approach this movie as like, well, I can't wait to see the Joker win. It was more like, well, this motherfucker is just stuck now, and whatever comic book element that you could bring into this was not brought into the first Joker. So expecting that like a Batman element or like a Two-Face element or like a Penguin Riddler element to be added to this, I think is unrealistic just because of what you've set up with the first movie where everything is so grounded and even fucking Batman doesn't exist and his dad is like this politician, right? So I don't understand where everyone that's complaining about this movie is coming from, or like what were they expecting to just have the Joker create chaos and then he gets away with murdering? Because if it's a courtroom drama, it's going to end in the courtroom.
Right, but I see. I mean, I think that's the thing is people didn't know they were signing up for a court. Todd Phillips did something admirable with his ability to do Joker too, which is he resurrected two genres. He resurrected the musical and the courtroom genre. Now, I just linked you to another Africans review of Joker 2 if you want to pull that up just real quick, and then we'll get back to the
Sure.
show proper here. So this man was a big fan of Joker Folie Deux. He is hailing from what was the African Kenya. Yes, Kenya
Okay.
originally.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna take a look at that real quick as Hans does that.
You said
Hans
it
has
on
a very long
Facebook?
light bulb in the background here.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
It's always on
no.
Facebook
Okay.
message. Here we go. We do love a good Joker.
Oh,
Brothers love
oh,
Joker, says Venom Grizz.
Jesus. What
The
the
brothers love Joker.
fuck?
Ballers love Joker,
Oh,
as they always
gosh.
say. What do we got here?
Kenny and Slow Joker.
Kenny loves
Where am
Joker.
I?
It would be nice to have it pulled up on the screen. There we go. Ah, boy, look at that. Here's the review. Can we just play that? What does he have to say?
Wait, hold on. I don't think I shared the audio.
Okay.
Just
Well,
give me 1 second. This is a very important thing he's about to say. Oh no, I did. Okay.
okay.
So
Yeah. Here we go.
yep.
Now, that is probably the best review I've seen thus far from somebody online when it comes to Joker Folie Deux. Are you going to follow him? He's got 545
No.
followers.
I
You're going to
want to
hit
see
follow,
more.
see all videos?
No, I do not want to see that. We're getting
One
there.
thing that stuck in my craw when I got out of the movie theater and I looked at X was that so many people were calling this movie boring. It's boring. It's a boring movie. It's not a bad movie. It's a boring movie. I don't think it's boring for even a second. I
No.
typically urinate anywhere between 2 to 4 times during a movie. I have a very weak prostate. I didn't urinate once during Joker Folie Deux. I stayed in my seat the entire duration, and that is because it was not boring. And I felt like, okay, something's going to happen here. And there were some things that did happen, maybe nothing like that cool or important. But I think to call it boring is just a catch-all to dismiss the movie because you don't agree with the terms it's set for you as a viewer. And I saw
Yeah.
someone on YouTube said, well, I don't pay to see a movie that presents disagreeable terms to me. It's like, well, it's not really up to you. You're paying for the experience.
What?
You don't know what you're walking into, ideally. I mean, why
What?
would you want to know entirely what you're walking into? You should want to have a surprise so you're coming away with something different. I'll give you the
I
exact
mean,
quote here because I did post my tweet. I said, Joker Folie Deux wasn't even a little boring. Don't understand this complaint at all. Seems like this is one of those instances of a catch-all word being thrown around to dismiss a movie that presents disagreeable terms to some of its audience. Because I haven't seen everyone calling it boring, but I've seen enough people calling it boring to make it a thing. That it's become a mimetic thing.
what's
So
boring about it though? I don't think
Raccoon,
like I was. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, Raccoon Anonymous wrote disagreeable, quoting me, disagreeable terms to some of its audience. I don't pay to be disagreed with. If the makers of a film don't want me to be their audience, then I'll comply with their wish and not watch 2 likes.
Well, you already paid for it, retard. What do you mean? You
Hey,
paid for
now,
the
if
movie
Raccoon
already.
Anonymous is in the chat, I think you should speak up and fight back with a super chat.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, I'm not about to go pay for this movie that I just paid for to watch. Oh, but you did.
Yeah, you
So
kind of did, didn't you?
so I mean, I don't know. That's so weird because it's like, okay, so do you only watch movies where you already know what's going to happen? When you already know everything that's going to happen in the movie, then what's the point of watching a movie? I
That's
honestly
Marvel
feel,
brain. That's Disney brain
yeah,
setting in.
yeah,
Is well, I
yeah.
know I'm walking into Infinity War, so this and this and this has to happen. Honestly, if you're on my channel, I would have to assume that's not you, but we have a lot of different viewers. So I have to assume that's the case. If you think you're entitled to know where the movie's gonna
Well,
go,
yeah.
come on.
That's one of the things. Let me just pull this up because someone said something that I retweeted that I thought was really clever, which is like now the narrative around this movie. Oh fuck. The narrative around this movie is that the movie failed because Todd Phillips took a risk and did not follow what the study, yeah, what the studio was saying, which is like that could be like the one thing that I appreciate about this movie, that he decided to just go left field and not do what people were expecting. This is it, where it's like, because people are saying what, declining to test screen Joker 2, that was like a mistake or whatever. And then Rick Worley here says, I keep seeing people sharing the "can you believe they didn't do test screenings? They should have done what we told them" angle. Nerds are hyped about the movie bombing because they're hoping that the lesson the studios learn is to only do as the audience tells them and never, where do we go?
Never let artists make creative decisions again.
Yeah. And I feel like the audience, someone just said that on the chat, actually. Let me give it credit. King Inc. just said audience entitlement is at an all-time high. And that's true. Because, okay, so the reason why this movie is bombing is because he didn't do what you wanted him to do with the movie, but at the same time, it's like, why would you go watch a movie that, when you already know what's going to happen and it does everything that you want it to happen? Like, I understand that comic book fans are huge dorks that want shit to be close to their comic. And I understand that because one of the reasons why I'm completely out of comic book movies is because of things like that that I would like that they never fell through, like the Robin bit with the Dark Knight Returns. Like that shit is still like I
Let me,
remember.
hey, you just
Yeah,
brought a thought into my head here. So
yeah.
something we've often talked about on this show is how the movie that creates a crater that makes an impact later has tens or hundreds of imitators that ruin it and that create a worse impact in its path. Like The Dark Knight. The impact of The Dark Knight is you wind up getting a lot of movies that inspire or aspire to be The Dark Knight because they're inspired by it. And the same thing goes with Iron Man. Iron Man was such a success that Disney Marvel winds up doing 50 Iron Man derivative
Yeah.
movies. But Joker's unique now. Joker was a hit, and then they started talking about they're going to do a Lex Luthor for President movie. That never happened. There's no other movies that are really like Joker.
Yeah.
Now, Sony tried to do their Morbius and Craven the Hunter. I don't think you can really put these two things in the same cat. Maybe the Penguin show is an example of them trying that, right? But
Uh,
nobody did what Joker did. They still existed within the comic universe. And I think Venom preceded Joker on that note, so it wasn't this wholly original thing. Nobody tried to recreate Joker. Not even Todd Phillips tried to recreate Joker with the Joker. So this is kind of an interesting situation where this movie exists independent of any copies that tried to do what it did. And now this movie comes out, flops, and I don't think anyone's going to try now, which kind of preserves the original film.
and that's the biggest, I think, issue with this movie flopping. That I wish this and Megalopolis didn't fail just because of giving credit for trying something different. At the same time, again, I'm not entirely happy with this movie. I don't think I'm ever going to watch Joker 2 again just because there's not enough for me to rewatch.
I think I'm going to rewatch it one more time just because I was still sussing out how I felt about it when I left the theater, and I still am not wholly in one category or the other. I do think it's a well-made movie. I think it's a good
Yeah.
movie, but it's not a movie that pleased me or left me feeling satisfied. And that's a problem for me as a viewer, anyway, for me as a film goer, especially after. But does it need to? Did it do enough with that first movie that this can kind of just exist on its own as a weird sequel? I think, yeah. That's what I
Yeah.
recommended. That's what I said back in 2020 is just make the weird sequel that everyone will forget. And it kind of
Yeah.
becomes this cool little artifact like Exorcist to the Heretic, or I don't know. What is another Warner Brothers sequel that flopped that didn't need to
Halloween
happen?
3,
Well, that was in Warner Brothers, but yeah,
but it
kind of.
flopped. Yeah.
People will come around to this movie in 20 years and go, yeah, he was really trying to do something different there. And he killed off the Joker like that. That's pretty daring and bold and interesting, right? So I think
It-
people will come around to it over time, but it's going to take a long time.
the complaint is also very weird to me, like the comic book accurate complaint where the Harley or this Joker are not like the comic book Joker or Harley, but I think that was set up from the first movie. Like, why would you expect that anything from that universe is the same as what you would get in the comics when you don't even have a Batman, you have a child that's supposed to be Bruce Wayne, and then there's really no elements from any other villain from Gotham that are in either of these movies for you to think that it's the same story that's told on the comics. So for me, that's also another disconnection. I understand that this guy's called Joker, and I understand that there's a history of a Joker character that's related to Batman, and but this I at least took this Joker as like completely different from what you get from that I guess backstory, which is not really much that exists in comic books, or like what that Joker character has done. I always thought that this Arthur Fleck character was completely different. So expecting anything to follow the pre-created story of a Joker never made sense to me because this is not that Joker, you know? So that's why when this Harley Quinn character is introduced and she's nothing like the Harley Quinn that we're used to, I'm like, okay, makes sense because this Joker is not the Mark Hamill Joker from Batman, the animated
Thank
series,
God.
right?
Yeah, no.
Right. So to me, that complaint really bothers me because it's like, okay, so you want to have it all. You want to have a Joker that's different, a Joker that exists in this dirty, in this hopeless world of 1970s New York or 80s, whatever, where this mentally ill guy is hopeless, and the reason why he breaks is because of all the abuse that he's taken. But there's no superhuman or superhero element of it other than, well, people follow me and they're the ones that are causing chaos, which doesn't really feel like a superhuman element. That's like a politician type of thing. But expecting comic book elements from the sequel when the first one doesn't give you anything doesn't make fucking sense to me at all. You know, because this is not your Jack Napier. This is not your Joker that doesn't have a name because we want to keep the backstory mysterious. This is Arthur Fleck. So this is a story that you're telling from the beginning where you're able to just say whatever the fuck you want. Why? Because we don't have a backstory for an Arthur Fleck. So why expect that Harley Quinn will be the same? That Two-Face will be the same, or that we will have a Batman when none of that has been set up. All we know is that this Joker, who has the same, I guess, name as that character, exists here. But I don't understand that, let's bring back some of that Batman backstory here. This is not a Batman movie. This is not a Batman universe movie. This is an Arthur Fleck that happens to be a clown and turns into a Joker who I guess you can attach or relate to that Joker, but it's completely different. So that really bothered me.
I'll go halfway on that. I thought this was the Joker proper. And I still think it is, even with that stupid ass ending of the as he's cutting his face up and Arthur dies. Nah, this is the Joker. And yeah, maybe this version of this second Joker movie, maybe that doesn't even become canon in 10 years. Maybe it becomes a situation where it's like, oh yeah, Michael Keaton is in the Flash movie, and then you have George Clooney at the end, and was that different? I guess it is
Ben
different
Affleck,
now.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ben
but
Affleck
different,
shows up and doesn't care.
right?
He's just there. Yeah, it's just Yeah.
Okay, so I think you can interpret any of this. I will give them credit for that. You can interpret these two movies any which way you like. And they've left enough room that all of it could be a delusion or none of it could be a delusion. Maybe
Yeah.
it's real, maybe it's not. Maybe he becomes a criminal mastermind. Could you imagine? Or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's just dead on the floor after getting raped, like so many of us are, you know? But I
Which in that
enjoy.
with that world, it makes sense that he would end like that, right? In that world that we're setting up throughout two movies, it doesn't make sense that he will become like this cartoony villain that can get away with everything, because nothing that has been set up shows that you can get away with anything in this world unless you're the government or a
Sure.
Wayne, right?
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
here's my head canon. I'll give it to you right now. Is this Joker film from 2019 and Joker Folie Deux? These are prequels to the Batman 89 film. So it all takes place in the same timeline. Then we get to 89. So Michael Keaton is 19 years old in Batman 89 now. And the
Yeah.
Joker did kill his parents, but he's misremembering. So he assigns a Joker to the Joker and Arthur Fleck. And he survives the stabbing because honestly, getting stabbed in the stomach is not a death
Yeah.
sentence.
Mhm.
Usually, they tell you that in Reservoir Dogs, you get shot in the stomach, you'll last a while. It doesn't matter how torn up your intestines get. The bleeding's not good, but you're not gonna die right away. You're gonna hang around for a bit. So maybe he's just in shock. Maybe he's holding his breath and just seeing how long he can hold it for. He's counting in his head. And in that time, because he's injured, he's in the hospital, he gets a little pudgy, he gets a little fat. That's why he looks rotund as Jack Nicholson and that Joker. And then he comes out of prison and under a new name because he's in witness protection. So they're like Jack Napier.
Mhm.
And he becomes the crime boss of the criminal underworld because he has so much time to reflect and read books while he's stuck in his prison bed. And then he falls into a vat of chemicals, and the Joker comes back because it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Why would he just fall into a vat of chemicals and become a clown? He's a gangster. It's like Frank
Yeah.
Sinatra falling into a vat of chemicals. Why would he become
Mhm.
a clown?
Yeah,
Because
that makes no
unless he
sense.
was the Joker to begin with on Murray Franklin. So there you have it. And then he
Huh.
dies in the Bat. It's a trilogy.
Why would this 80-year-old Joker that doesn't look like he's 80 years old would fall in a vat on chemicals and become, yeah, okay. All right, I can go with that.
I think
I
it's the only thing that makes sense if you think about it logically.
hmm. Do you think the Joker would apply for a Batman credit card if he had a chance?
If he was alive at that point in time, I think it would be a bit of a sore subject, but maybe he would see the humor in it.
Yeah. I mean, the Joker's never dead, right? If we follow the lore, because Joker could be anyone. And that's what you get from this movie, right? At the
No,
end,
I
where
hate that. I hate that. I hate that. Absolutely not. We do not
what do you
subscribe to that
mean?
theory. The Joker
He
lives on.
he inspired them, Loris. Don't you see how that guy was dressed just like the Joker from the last movie? So
Well, actually, you know
obviously,
what? This actually becomes a cool, interesting fork point because then you go, okay, well, I just explained the Jack Nicholson connection to you, but then the other guy could be Heath Ledger, and suddenly it all comes together as one universe.
where does the Jared Leto one come in? Or the Batman 1960 Joker. When
I
does
think
that
those are
one
the
come?
same Joker, personally. In
Oh,
my head,
okay.
when I watched that movie, I was like, this has to be Caesar Romero
Yeah.
grown
Oh,
up.
look, Joker finally decided to shave his mustache before he put his makeup on.
Well, what do
That's
they have in
great.
common? What do they have in common? They like to hide things under the makeup. Mustache,
Yeah.
tattoos. It's not dissimilar.
Damn. Yeah, I guess we should do a Spider-Man Homecoming, but with the Joker, I guess. That's
Holy
what.
shit, that would be so good. You get Arthur Fleck. Heath Ledger's dead, obviously, so he's out.
I mean, you can get, I
Jared
mean, you can
Leto.
you can get an impersonator from YouTube, I'm sure, to do to do that. I'm sure you can get someone good.
That could be good. All right, we'll consider it. Let's say for now we get Arthur Fleck, Jared Leto,
Uh-huh.
and Jack Nicholson back in his current
Okay.
state where he steps outside of his multi-million-dollar home, sits down, and looks at birds.
Let
And
me
that's who Jack Nicholson is now.
let me throw a couple of more in there that
Okay.
Venom Gris over here just reminded me of. So you got Milton, brother of the Joker. That's another Joker that we can throw in there.
Did you just call him Milton? It's Melvin.
Yeah, Melvin, whatever.
Milton Berle.
And
Who's
then
very Joker-esque with how he reveals his cock to strangers.
yeah. I mean, yeah. You know what I found the other day? I found a video of myself in our one bedroom apartment in Boston where I was wearing the fake penis in my pants, and then I just turn around and you can see the penis. So that's a cool video that I found
You
recently.
should put that on Instagram. It just no context at all.
Yeah, just here's my penis. And I'm the Joker baby. I think that guy we should be calling him to
Okay.
put him into this new movie too. And then a movie that I didn't watch because I didn't want to torture myself, but you wanted me to watch, which is what is
The
it?
People's Joker.
The People's Joker.
The trans
So
Joker.
so we need to bring that Joker too, right? And then you have to bring the Santa Cruz Joker too
Oh, he's in
in
jail,
here.
right? He's in jail for
Oh,
real.
is he? Oh, fuck. Okay. Well, we can do like we did with Buddy Duress and just get the Santa Cruz Joker
Let's
on.
start writing them now. Can we just do some
That's right.
fan mail?
Yeah,
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. I do think that there is quite a bit of interesting paths we could take, especially as these characters inch towards the public domain within the next 10 years. Zachary Levi, now that he's an open Trump supporter, is going to need the help. So, lights out.
Oh,
That's
shit.
it. That's not good. Lights out in the
Yeah.
prison means my cheeks are about to get clapped.
Who do you call fat? Do you call me fat? Greg Turkington.
Greg Turkington's Joker could come in. That would be an easy one to link with the People's Joker. All right, this light will be back up and running in a second here for those of us watching on YouTube. Hans, why don't you just do you want to link the website? Maybe we'll do
Oh, yeah.
another merch plug real quick.
Link it or show it?
Let's show it. We'll show it. But
Okay.
everybody who is interested, we just launched merch today during our live show at lowres.org. We have 4 graphic tees. Somebody asked if these are back prints. 2 of them are back prints. 2 of them are front prints. Forgotten Genres is technically both.
I think they all have both, don't it?
No, not all of them have both. The Everything is Ruined tee is only
That's
a
just front.
print.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have this one that has both, and then Forgotten Genres.
We got the Forgotten Genres. That is front, back, and sleeve. These are all available now at lowres.org. We have an unlimited stock of these 4. Get 2 for Forgotten Genres. The employees only golf tourney, which you can become part of.
This is cool. I want this one.
That kind of looks jokery, right? That looks like Jack Napier hanging out on the golf course.
Purple suit. And then
we got Everything is Ruined Movies, a podcast about the act of cinema t-shirt here. So we got those 4. And then we did a collaboration for Mass State Lottery with Young Leche, the premier airbrush artist who designed these 4 one-of-a-kind XL t-shirts. You can buy them right now. If you buy it, you're going to be the only owner of this shirt. He did not make any others. I said, hey, can we do more stencils of this? Because I wanted to keep them. Hans said earlier he wanted to keep them. And he said, nah, I do these direct to T. I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll just take these 4, and they are currently for sale. Again, one of a kind, lowres.org. If you want to purchase them, we got Rathke and Devlin, Helmet the Clown, played by Buddy Duress in the movie Mass State Lottery, Happy Fisherman, which is a dear old pal of Devlin's, very spooky face here, and Vitaly the Hobgoblin, voiced by the YouTuber, author Justin Little, aka Vernaculus. We got these 4 currently in the shop. And then we head on over to Decor. We have one A2 sized poster for Mass State Lottery, which you can purchase now. Take a look at that. How about that? And then we get the wall example. Now, technically, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret if you weren't here earlier in the night. This wall example is not a proper A2 poster. It's actually a little bit smaller than that, but it's going to look more or less like that, but with the colors popping like the actual example above here. So you can buy that all right now, and we're going to have a home media division for Forgotten Genres coming in the next few months that we're going to launch with the audio publication of God is a Killer, the debut novel from Max Thrax, which is a hard-boiled, eerie, not really paranormal, kind of almost touching paranormal Massachusetts crime thriller. It's very well written. Max Frax is a talent, and I was so pumped to acquire that book and produce and direct the audiobook that he narrated. So check that out. And then we, of course, we can't neglect the Bring Hans to America Fund. A lot of you guys have done super chats earlier tonight. If you don't want to do a super chat, you want to see Hans have a comfortable stay in the United States while we are shooting two new projects this November. We're going to need your help over here because that is not something attainable to he or myself at this time. He's coming to America, but whether or not that is going to be a very workable stay, TBA, we don't know. So here's what we wrote here on the website, why you should contribute to the Bring Hans to America Fund. You know him, you love him, you listen to him twice a week and have heard about his gastrointestinal issues more times than you can count. We want to bring actor, writer, Renaissance man, an internationally renowned comedian and entertainer, Hans Lombarboza, back to the United States this winter to shoot not one, but two scripted projects in pre-production right now for release in 2025 and host a live Q&A screening of Mass State Lottery in New York City this November. Unfortunately, importing a third world talent to America doesn't come cheap. High roller contributions, $1,000, $5,000, and $10,000 can earn you associate producer, executive producer, and producer credits on one of two upcoming projects that will be released in 2025. Cringe Lord, which is going to be the second film that I direct, and Combat Zone Massachusetts might be renamed Lunchtime Rowdies, a 5-episode sitcom about New England construction workers working on condominiums that are going to price them out of their own hometown. So we want Hans to be a pivotal clutch role in both of these projects, and we can only really do that if we get a healthy amount of contributions. So please donate early and donate often. Do you want to add anything to that, Hans?
Yeah. Help me.
Help me.
Help me.
We're back.
Help. No, I mean, I think the last couple of times I went up there, like I feel like this time we're actually going with more of like a clear idea as to what we're going to do and what we want to get done and the specific time frame that we want to do it on. So we appreciate all the help that we can get on this, just because, you know, I still live in a third world country where the money that I make from your American government, which is who pays me, it's not that great. So any help that we can get from you guys would be great, just so that we can get everything done that we want to get done next month. Not just the shooting, but also the Q&A and the screening that we're going to do there. So yeah, we appreciate any help that you guys can throw in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this stream's still going, right? I just got a random notice that said we were offline. Sorry, guys, if there's any technical difficulties here.
Oh, yeah.
We're still going? Okay, good.
Yep.
Good. All right, we're going to go back into Joker Folie Do, and then we're going to wrap up. Did you feel like there was anything that was left on the table when it came to discussing this movie or the surrounding context of criticism around it?
Honestly, no. I think, well, the Lady Gaga lips were the things that bothered me the most about it. But I think, and I wonder if her being such a good singer kind of I don't know, because she sings too much in this movie, and it kind of took me out of it sometimes. And I feel like this felt more like a vehicle for her to show how great she is at singing, more than all of the songs having a reason to exist. So
I mean, I think she's accomplished enough, and she just did A Star Is Born a couple of years ago with Bradley Cooper. She was good in that. I watched that for the first time. Coincidentally, the same day Chris Christopherson died, and he was the Bradley Cooper character in the Barbra Streisand 1970s one, which is also a very solid film.
What is Lunchly?
I think Lunchly is like an OnlyFans website that they're recommending here in the chat.
No,
That will
Lunchly.
never happen.
Wait, what do you mean? You're the one that's posted this.
What? I
How do
didn't
you
post
not
a
know?
Lunchly.
Yeah, you did.
Oh wait, I love Lunchly. What am I talking
Yeah.
about here? See, hold on, I thought it was like the girlslunchmoney.com website. I thought people were saying that. Lunchly, yeah, we'll definitely do a Lunchly review gladly. Are you kidding me? I eat
How
this for
much is
breakfast, lunch,
one of
and dinner.
those? How much is one of those things? Like $20?
You wouldn't be able to afford it unless people
This
contribute to
is,
the Bring Hans to America fund on lowres.org right now.
I mean, even if I could afford it, I can't eat all of that shit anyway, unless you want me to have like a diabetic coma there.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you could record that, I guess. That'll be good content.
That'll
Just
be yeah,
me.
that'll be something to upload. Just creepy, weird video of you seizuring on the couch.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh yeah, we took him to the hospital. Now we owe $10,000 because they gave him aspirin. This is
Yeah.
great. I'm gonna just fucking Lunchly. I'm gonna get Jake Paul to pay for it.
Are you watching the Penguin show by any chance?
I haven't. No. Have you?
Nah. Yeah, I watched the first one, and the first 10 minutes of it feel like the Batman. He's saying friggin' a lot. The writing is really bad. It really sucks. He's giving a story about some criminal element who died in his town, and they threw a friggin' parade for him. And then they turned into a real HBO show after that. It was clearly like, we got to release this clip to YouTube, and we need
Mm.
the Batman friendly audience of children to check this out with their parents. And then we're going to turn it into like a real show. And then he's saying fuck, and you're seeing breasts, and you're seeing a penis, and it goes into regular HBO territory. And it's like, oh, all right. And then it kind of won me over a little bit with that. And now there's 2 episodes I haven't seen. I'm behind.
Oh, so you're up to date. Yeah, I read that it was a lot of like
Just said I'm behind.
a caricature of a Tony Soprano character.
It is that.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
It's
Okay.
what, the criticism that we were talking about that was levied against Joker, which is it's Taxi Driver, but lesser. It's King of Comedy, but not as good. The Penguin is that, but literally for Sopranos. It's that if you want Batman involved.
Does he show up?
No. Well,
Is he
there's like a brief moment where he's on a TV in the first episode, and that's it.
okay? So they handle it in a very CW way, where it's like, oh, the real hero will show up if it's needed, but we don't need it right now, so we're not gonna show him. Mark, okay,
Yeah,
fair
he's
enough.
too busy. He doesn't need to beat up the Penguin
Mm.
24/7. He's just a fat club owner at the end
Yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
day.
Okay.
So maybe you'll get like a man in a cape jumping from a roof, and you'll see the silhouette, and that'll be enough for most of the audience. Actually, I think this show, regardless of however successful it is, gone after one season. They don't want to do a Batman 2, the Batman 2. They don't want that. I don't think they want that at all. I think they're going to do something completely. I think you're going to see the Andy Muschietti Batman not happen. You're not going to see the Batman 2 happen. And they're going to take things in a completely different direction than whatever we're expecting with that.
Well, I remember when Joker first came out, one of the things that we said was that we were excited about DC having a trajectory of just doing weird movies with their characters where
For
they
sure.
don't have to be connected with each other.
Yeah.
And I like that, and I wish they would do that. Like if that's the direction they're going, I'm all for it, just because you can be so much more creative than the slop that Marvel gives you, which is just always the same no matter what. I just don't think DC has done enough, and since that movie came out, for that to be the case. Other than if you watch the TV shows, but I don't. So I'm a little worried that this one bombing means that we're just gonna go back to regular superhero shit, because I would prefer to watch Joker fully do twice over anything from Marvel in the past 2 phases. I want to,
Marvel, I don't even think about. I mean, are they even doing anything? What is it? Agatha all the time is what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah.
It's just, it's not even like they gave up, and they should have gave up. They're just going to think about what they want to do, which I guess is bring back Robert Downey Jr. and do a Fantastic Four movie. And they should go and do it. And they'll have like a good ramp, I guess, to pivot off of and try and recapture their audience that they alienated, which we'll see if that lasts.
Yeah. Uh, I don't think I'm watching any. This is the first superhero movie that I watched in the theater since that Batman movie came out. I'm completely out of this whole thing. So if we were not, I don't think if we were not recording this episode, I don't think I would have gone see it in the theater.
Mhm.
But I'm glad that I did, just because I think this movie, visually speaking, works really well in a theater, and I don't think I would have, not that I loved it, but I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if I saw it at home. So I'm glad I did go see it through a theater to see it.
No, I completely
If
agree with that. And I thought the elements that I did enjoy of it were such a treat and an unexpected treat at that. And I just wish it came together a little bit better than where it wound up going. I do think it's a good movie. I would recommend it. I think it's one of the more interesting movies. And just being a divisive movie in 2024, I think makes you on an echelon that most movies fail to achieve. So I'd recommend it. I would say forget all the naysayers, block that out, go form your own opinion in the theater.
Yeah.
It's a visual spectacle. You get a great performance from Joaquin, although I do think his performance in the first one is better. Not to neg him on this one. You get Tim Dillon for a half second. That's okay. That's not bad. Brendan Gleeson's kind of the standout, the star of the movie, in my opinion. And yeah, Joker gets raped. So what? So what? Does that make him less of a person if he gets raped? Do you think that?
No, and it also, I don't understand the outrage. Like, he's in jail. You're expecting these things to happen to someone that's in jail for that long, especially in this horrendous world he lives in, right? So the outrage from that scene, it's so funny to me because it's like he's a so all the horrors that he goes through by being in that jail do not amount to him getting fucked.
Which, by
I
the
don't
way,
know.
they say during the trial he was sexually abused, so it's not the first time being
Yeah,
raped, even. He's been
yeah,
raped. He's dealt
yeah.
with it, been there, done that. All right. I think that is what we can end this stream on.
Yeah, that's right. You can survive it just like the Joker come
Well, he
back
didn't. I mean,
on
he really didn't survive it if we're just going to take it at face value. He died after getting
get
raped,
back.
like many
Well, not
do.
because of the rape though. Just because he was goofy and
No,
silly and wanted to hear a joke.
he's been passed
Yeah.
around so much. I know he's
Yeah.
on to bigger and better things. Joker 3 coming this 2025. I don't know. All right. Again, guys, if you want to help out and get something for it, head on over to lowres.org. Buy yourself a shirt, get a one-of-a-kind Young Leche Mass State Lottery collaboration shirt, or buy a Mass State Lottery poster. We're going to have a secret drop later tonight, and we're not telling anybody about it. You're going to have to visit the website around like 11 o'clock at night this evening, and we're going to put up some secret products that can be bought. One of them will be one of a kind, and then the other we have very limited supplies of. Stay tuned for that. LowRes.org. Help Hans come to America. We want to shoot some more stuff.
Also, one last
Yes.
thing. You are adding a treat from the Costa Rican theater to each order. I don't even know what it is, but you do. So that's an extra treat there.
Little did Hans know I was plucking his stray hairs back in November of 2020 to put in all of these packages, all the orders going out across America. So that's what that is.
You don't have to pick my hair. You can just grab my hat and all the hair that fell off my hat. You can just get it from there. So that's probably what happened. But yeah, it's an extra treat there in this order. So that's an extra incentive there.
We all love a good haired treat. All right. That has been movies for this week. Thank you for listening. Are we still going? I think we're still